Hey, episode 98 of the Nashville Artist Podcast is now out, featuring the incredibly talented Nate Bradley. In this engaging episode, I sit down with Nate to explore his multifaceted career in photography and music. Nate shares his journey from photographing bands and creating album covers to producing ambient bedroom pop music. He sheds light on his creative processes and inspirations, including a memorable story about reshooting a botched film roll and providing free photos to support local businesses. Throughout our conversation, Nate emphasizes the importance of showing up for oneself, seeking authenticity, and nurturing meaningful connections within the Nashville art scene. He believes in capturing real, unrepeatable moments and shares his cautious optimism about technological advances like AI, along with his views on global and social issues. Filled with humor and stories from humble gigs to profound realizations, this episode offers a comprehensive look at Nate's artistic philosophy and the valuable lessons he's learned along the way. Enjoy the podcast episode. Been up to today? What did you do before this?
I woke up, I played with a cat, and drank some coffee. Hey, I ate a chocolate chip pancake. I got a little crazy.
What's the cat's name?
My girlfriend's cat, just got her. Her name is Junie from the Catio. Very cute, older cat who... Have you been to the Catio over there by Grand Ole Opry?
What is that?
Maybe it's not by the Opry, I get that. Yeah, it is. It's by... Anyway, it's like a place you can go and play with cats that are up for adoption.
It's
or
like a
for
cat
foster.
cafe kind of thing?
Yeah, but it's like 30, 40 cats in there. And like most of them don't want to hang out. So you got to just sit there for a while and then they'll come to you.
Wow.
But that's where my girlfriend found her cat.
Wow.
Was the Catio. It was a very fun day. You go and play with them and then you're like, man, I'm thinking about that one a lot. And then she went back and adopted it the next day. Very cute.
What color is the cat?
A little blonde, orange situation. Very cute. She's 9, so she's a little older, but yeah, super sweet.
That's amazing. I love cats.
I love a cat. I've lived only with dogs.
Really?
Yeah. Living with cats, like my current roommate lived with 3 cats at his last house. And being in those environments often comes with pee and stuff. And dog pee just smells a lot less bad than cat pee. So people are cooler with dogs generally, I think, as like a roommate thing. Oh, yeah. I've yet to live with a cat with a roommate.
Really?
Yeah, I just think it's more common to live with a dog.
Yeah, I guess one of the houses I lived with here in Nashville, they had a dog, so I got to know the dog, but I haven't lived with a cat here yet. But my parents have cats, and I nurtured the shit out of those cats.
Yeah.
Like, I played with them so much as they grew up that they let you like pick them up and stick your face in their belly, and they won't scratch you. And
that's the sweet stuff.
Because you pet them so much when they're little, then they get used to it as they grow up.
Yeah. You have to build trust with a cat. Yeah. I do find that they like have the temperament of an adult person.
Definitely.
And dogs have the temperament of a 5-year-old person. And that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for a small person's energy.
Yeah, same here.
You need an adult energy.
I need something to come around when it wants some love and then go off and do its own thing. And entertain itself and then come,
I grew up with dogs though. Yeah. So I feel like I got tired of... My chores were always to clean up the yard and stuff like that and feed the dogs and walk the dogs. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, I don't got to walk no dogs. This is great.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And the little creature will entertain itself and will clean itself. And
yeah, they're really low maintenance cats. You got to do stuff and clean the space, but they're cool. They're self-sufficient.
Yeah. They're like little Zen Buddhists.
I admire that.
You never see a cat that can't relax.
Most of the cats I know are Buddhists. Yeah. I didn't think about that till now.
They know how to like chill and just sit
they've told me.
Yeah.
We've gotten into it. We have most of the cats I know, and I have some like ideological differences, but we align pretty closely on the Buddhism thing. Me and the cats.
Keeps them chill. Cool. We'll get started here.
Let's get it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nashville Artists. I'm Jordan, and today Nate Bradley is here.
Hello.
Thank you for coming over and doing this.
Dude, thanks for having me. Your spot is so cool. I love your location. I champion you in this space. Right next to 210 Jack, the best restaurant in Nashville for ramen and other things like sushi.
Sure.
It doesn't hurt that I have friends that work there, but it is truly like, it's the spot, man. It's like where I went on my birthday and it was up to me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there then.
I don't know. It surprised me how good the sushi was. That's all. I can't quit talking about it. I think it was the first thing I said when I realized what neighborhood you were in. I was like, you're right by the ramen.
What sushi there is your favorite?
They have one called the Always Sunny roll with like green apple in it.
Wow.
And I had never thought about green apple in sushi, and it just blew my mind. And I'm a sushi guy, but I've also been a person of low standards in my life. I've had gas station sushi, so I really enjoy good sushi because I've been at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
You get down there.
That's awesome. So you said, where are you from again?
Ohio. I grew up in Columbus, just outside of Columbus. But yeah, I lived there my whole life, man. And then I came to Nashville to go to school, went to college for a year, and I was like, I think I want to be here. I don't think I want to be a student here. So I evaluated that and came back here just to do a job and get the apartment and make the friends and do life here. And it's been really cool. I've liked having adult life here on purpose.
What school did you go to?
I went to Tribeca, this Bible college in town, for a year. I made some really good friends there and great memories, but like I definitely feel the person I am now is a completely different life from that life. And I think that's a beautiful thing about life, that you can step into a lot of personhoods and versions of yourself through that growth. But yeah, it's just if I met myself from that time now, I don't think we'd recognize each other, and I think that's a good thing.
Wow. Yeah. We're going for the ring by spring.
Yeah, dude, I saw a lot of that happen. I'm not even trying to be funny. That's a real thing out there.
I had friends that went there, and they were all like, everyone wants to get married by the end of college.
Not a joke.
I'm like, wow, that's insane.
And that's cool. My sister and her now husband met at a Bible college up in northern Ohio where my family's at. And that's the same thing there. I think it's just like a Bible college thing, but have this gazebo by a little pond on their campus. And driving past that for the first time, like seeing my sister's dorm room, and she's showing me all her like places on campus. And that's where everyone gets engaged. And it's serious. Like they had 30 engagements at that gazebo last year. And it's like a small student body. It's silly how many people are getting married at 19 out there. It's not my lifestyle or life at all. So it's like...
It works for some people.
It works for a few people.
Yeah, for a few people.
I'd be willing to say that.
Yeah.
It works for a handful of people.
Definitely. So you have siblings, you have a sister, how many siblings do you have? Just
my sister, Rachel. She's about to give birth this summer, so I'm very excited to be an uncle, but I don't know, it's weird, man. Like being in your mid and then late 20s and like being the person in your family that's, I'm going to go do art and like just have a job somewhere and do that. And then life is happening on the other side of the tracks, like rapidly. Just weird to watch because like I hit uncle status so fast.
Wow.
I'm shopping online for stuffed animals for a baby that's not here yet. And I'm just like a 27-year-old guy that works at a restaurant. It just feels weird. It's beautiful, but it's wow.
Yeah, that is wild. What is she also into art and music, or? She's
a teacher. She's a fourth grade teacher, and I'm very proud of her. She's the coolest. And I always knew she was going to do something like important with her life. She's always been very driven and very like giving to others and generous with her time and her talents. But it surprised me that she's like teaching fourth grade just because I've always known her as a smaller version of like me. You know, you grew up with a sibling. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have two older brothers.
That's right. We talked about that with the book that your grandma made. Like, wild to grow up with a sibling and then watch each other be adults out in the world is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You see them do it with flying colors, but you're like, man, we're all adults.
Is she younger or older than you?
Just younger by a couple of years, yeah.
I see.
Are you middle child, oldest child?
I'm the youngest.
Man.
So I had everyone to look up to.
The rules didn't apply to you, I assume.
I got away with a lot more.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I was definitely like one of my older brothers. You got away with a lot more than I did, and your life was easier than mine. I can't help it. I'm like, this is,
That's just the nature of it. I had
yeah,
a bunch of rules for me, a lot less rules for my sister. Granted, she's a cool girl, she's a cool lady.
right.
So maybe they just realized she's cool and they were like, she doesn't need all these boundaries and rules. It's all right.
Yeah.
It could have been. I don't know.
Yeah, by the time they got to me, they're like, all right, Jordan, just do your schoolwork and then do whatever you want.
That's pretty
I
nice.
was pretty
That's pretty
blessed with my
nice.
parents accepting whatever I chose to do with my time and
Mm,
never pushing me in some sort of direction. So I thank them for that. One day, if
yeah.
when I have kids, I would like to be able to give that to them.
Yeah. It's important to like let a kid discover the world a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Bambi, the legs on Bambi only got stronger with the time.
Yeah, I have this distinct memory of being in like third or fourth grade. My mom was like, Jordan, do you want to go out for sports? I was like, no, Mom, I just want to play with my toys. And she's like, okay, that's fine. And I was like, man, it was so awesome that
That
she
is
was
pretty
like
awesome.
that. So, what about your parents? Are they also into art and music and stuff? Or...
No, they don't really care for it all that much. They have favorites. Like my dad likes John Denver and he likes I grew up with Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was like the shit, dude. When I was growing up, he was just like the only cool music I had around really. Cuz as I think we talked about coming in, I grew up a little sheltered and pretty much having like biblically safe stuff within reach because my parents work in the church. And while that's great, it did make me have to discover like Dylan and the Beatles and Radiohead and like just cool shit later in life. And again, like I think I said earlier, I appreciate that because it gave me more of an appreciation for it when I like had the depth of personhood to sit within rainbows and be like just undone by it. You know, you don't do that when you're 15. You might if you're really sad, but it hits different at 25 when you're like I think there's a lot of beauty in coming to stuff a little later, but yeah, they aren't into very much of that. They again have their favorites, but they stick with them, which I
Right.
understand. I think there's also a difference in generations with how they like consume art because it's like everything in our pocket now that I can pick whatever I want, and they grew up with records and tape and the radio and 8 track, and it's just more
Very
limited
limited,
to
yeah.
what you could even get. And they both grew up in like small towns and small cities, and they weren't around the culture as much. I remember asking my mom, "Did you ever go to any concerts in high school that you had fun at or anything?" And she just thought about it for a while, and she had one, but I'm not even remembering the name of the guy she said she saw off the top of my head. But like my first concert was like a Chris Tomlin concert, and he's a worship leader guy, and I was like, "This is my first concert. This is so cool." I had a lot of fun, but like that wasn't my first concert.
Yeah. What would you consider your first concert?
I went so growing up in Ohio, 21 Pilots were like huge. That band was just like other than Walk the Moon, pretty much the only band at the time that had gotten somewhere from Columbus that I knew of. Like Beartooth, those guys were in Columbus. They were cool, but like when it came to mass success and like making some real noise, they were the first like attention grabbing one. So they played a show at this theater at Ohio State, and I forget the name of the theater off the top of my head, but that was one of my first like real concerts, I would say, just because it was secular music in a venue.
How old were you then?
Maybe 17,
Oh,
maybe.
I see.
Yeah. So I've gained a big appreciation for music again later in life, but growing up with Johnny Cash, I knew what sounded good.
Oh,
And it was crazy kind of coming into some of the art I've come into recently, like the Harrison stuff and the Beatles, and realizing how many songs I grew up with thinking were Johnny Cash songs that were actually Harrison songs or Dylan songs that Cash is just covering on his record. And not having that context really just keeps you within your favorites. So I see why people stick with a couple artists. And then when you realize how interconnected all of it is, it just opens you up to, oh man, I'm really gonna like that. Oh, I really like that. What's all this Laurel Canyon stuff? What's all the Crosby, Stills, and Nash stuff? Like I didn't get to any of that till like pretty recently, and I feel a little not jaded. I feel like I could have gotten there sooner, but again, the appreciation that you have for that kind of art, I think, graces you later in life anyway.
Definitely. When you're like more mature and you can actually understand what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, dude. You see
It
yourself in
hits
their
later.
shoes.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Because a lot of the music I listened to when I was in high school, I didn't really understand what they were talking about. And I would probably have to look it up to understand how deep or whatever it was. But then when you got older, you're like, you can immediately tell what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like that realization doesn't come until you've matured, I feel like.
I think some artists are able to translate that to most people, even if you're younger and you haven't had that life experience. But it's just a strength as an artist to be able to translate the lived experience to someone else through any medium, through photography, videography, music, whatever. You're just trying to take what you've experienced in your life and show someone else as much as you can.
Yeah.
I think the tangible mediums are like getting more precious as we get into more of a tech space in art. But I don't know that those are any less valid as long as you're doing it with that same intention of expressing your lived experience to someone else for the sake of human connection.
Definitely. It can still translate.
Yeah. But it's all that intent, man.
Definitely. Intention. Did you ever listen to any Jars of Clay?
Yeah. Ironically, I just thrifted a t-shirt. I didn't thrift it. I follow this buddy of mine, Dom, who goes to the bins and he like pulls stuff that's cool and posts it on his Instagram story and sells it. And I'm not going to plug his handle on here because I love him and I don't want to quit buying stuff from him. I don't want him to get overrun, but he's the hookup, I'll tell you what. Great dude. And he picked a Jars of Clay shirt that's like a 2XL. And I was like, I have to buy this for my dad. I have to, because I grew up with, again, one of those bands being in the repertoire in the house. And I saw it and I was like, that's a gag gift for dad. That's a sleep shirt for dad. Good band. Not saying that Jars of Clay is a gag gift shirt. It's not like the Snuggie. Sure. I'm not gonna. But yeah, it's ironic you said that. I just thought of them the other day.
That first album was really good.
Is that the 11th Hour or was that the other album?
I can't remember. I think it's purple or blue looking. But I just remember that from the 90s, like growing up listening to that on my brother's boombox in his room.
Yeah, man, there was some great alternative Christian stuff. I grew
what
up
is
with
this?
Reliant K. I can't be mad.
Yeah.
Reliant K rocks. They're great. I was gonna say, when I talk about music that I think is great, I'll be like, oh, that fucks. I don't know why lately that's slipped into my, but it felt wrong to say that Reliant K does that. I don't think that they would appreciate anyone being like, I'm just gonna let them rock.
Did you ever listen to any Rich Mullins? He was like the guy who wrote, My God, is an awesome
I definitely
God.
have then, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't think of him as the guy. I would just hear that song in church and I didn't think to follow who made it.
I liked his probably the most because it was extremely depressing and it was like the actual lifestyle of a Christian and not necessarily it's all great and very
thing
real.
is real.
Yeah.
I feel you. Okay.
And he was an alcoholic too, so he was like
Wow.
a very prolific writer and became famous. And he had this whole like dilemma of I'm wealthy and I'm a Christian and I'm famous and I don't like it. So he told his record company, only pay me the medium salary of a person in America and then donate the rest. I don't want it. And they would try to bribe him, be like, Rich, we'll get you a new Jeep or we'll get you a motorcycle. And he was like, no, I don't want it. Like, so he had this really weird dilemma of being successful and also trying to be a Christian. He like had so much contradiction in his beliefs. And so I thought it was really interesting to hear that from a viewpoint of a contemporary Christian artist.
Yeah. Not that they don't get into real stuff, but it is pretty rare that someone's that bare in an art that's supposed to be pretty safe for people to not wander too far into thought.
Yeah.
To be frank.
Nice. So what were you into as a little kid?
I loved like playing with Legos, man. Legos were the best. Big Lego kid. I did claymation on an old VHS camera poorly. I don't know. I was just always making movies and running around just like playing my guitar badly. I just always knew what I wanted to do, I think. And I've continued just doing that. But I don't play the guitar badly anymore. And I don't make claymation at all, but I use a VHS camera still. Things have changed, but not all that much.
That's awesome. So what first got you into photography and art?
My high school photo teacher was the coolest, and his name was Scott Volzer. Volzer. He was definitely a tough love kind of teacher in the way of noticing me not do any work. And he was like, do your work. You're good at this. And that was our whole repertoire, or our whole rapport between the two of us was just like, I wouldn't do any work, and he'd be like, "You're good at this. Do your work." And then I would do the work, and it would be pretty good. I don't know. He was just like the only person that believed in me with tough love at that age, and I needed that. And it was really cool to have someone speak into my life like that. And I don't know, he still follows my Instagram, so it's cool to get to see him like some of my film pictures, and I'll send him posts now and then. But he was my film photo teacher. I had 4 years of darkroom film experience in high school, which is very fortunate. In 2015, 2016, it's pretty rare that a public high school at that, has a darkroom at all. And they're even scarcer now. So it was really fortunate to get like 4 solid years in of developing black and white film hands-on and doing your prints. And again, I had such an opportunity and I just didn't see it at the time because I was just a kid zoning out and like coping with stuff. And you have a teacher that's, you're good at this, give it a shot, like quit pitying yourself. And that does change a lot. He was a cool guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who were like did you have like early influences as far as photographers or that goes?
That Humans of New York guy, I saw that book in the living room. I had that book in high school and I was like, man, just the way that he talks with people and the candid stuff he was getting of New York just was so enticing to me to look at. So at that time in high school, I really was like, man, street photography, people photography, those are like so rich and there's so much like room to grow in that. And I think for a time, I tried to do my own little humans of my town thing just because I was like, man, I need to do a series. I need to like figure out how to get out and talk to people in the photo taking process and then like actually gain something from that interaction between the human connection and remember each other. It's just sweet because like you take a picture of someone, you're not going to forget really, and they're not going to forget for a while because you look at that picture and both of you are back in that moment. So it's a connector. And
Yeah.
I ran around like the Dairy Queen in my hometown in high school, just being like, does anyone want their picture taken? Like just some high school kid, no idea what I was doing. But I was inspired, to tell you what.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about other artists or across genres? Did you have any that influenced you at this time?
Ansel Adams, that's not a joke, but it's a joke because we would have to do every quarter in that photo class, we'd have to do a report on a photographer. And the first year of that class, I went to Wikipedia and I looked up like famous film photographers at the list. And alphabetically, the first guy is Ansel Adams. So I was like, great, checking him out. And then it's just beautiful landscape photography. In fact, one of his photos is like the slip insert in a Carpenter's album. It's not like he's just some guy. He's incredible. Ansel Adams was like one of the landscape photographer for a long time, and he captured, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of Yosemite and a lot of Colorado like mountain ranges and stuff just beautifully on a all black and white film with such dimension and depth. And yeah, ironically, I was like, how do I just find the first guy? And he was pretty good. He's pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah, the first guy, he's not a bad spin of the wheel.
Ansel Adams.
You should check him out.
I'll check him
I
out.
got the Close to You record by Carpenters at Ux, and I was pretty surprised to pull that out and see just like a beautiful landscape in there by him. I was like, this is cosmic irony. I see it. It's looking back at me after all this time.
Wow. You said you started out in school or like in class, like you.
Yeah. I had a film camera and just black and white film, and it was like a $30 film camera my dad bought from a camera shop in town, and it worked great, but you don't start with anything fancy. And a lot of the kids in the photography class in high school in 2016 are doing it as a cop-out because they don't want to do any work. But then you have kids in there that are like very dedicated to having fun and learning something with it. And I was in between, I think. I joined it because I knew photography was fun, but I guess, I don't know, it challenged me in a cool way that made me like confront some of the laziness or the avoidantness in my life at that time.
Nice.
It's all a good teacher, man. It's all you need.
That's awesome. When you got to Tribeca, did you take any photography classes or anything?
Not really. I was there for music business, and again, only there for a year. And I've had friends finish out those programs and have nothing but good things to say, obviously. But when I was there, I was looking at it like, okay, this is like 4 years of accounting classes and like some music contextual classes. And the people that are teaching it are great and they're active in the industry. Like one of my professors was like the VP of Sony Music's Christian division at the time, and he was also teaching. So you're getting like good perspective and stuff, but it's also an ever changing, unpredictable, complete crapshoot of an industry, the music industry. If you're trying to get a hold of it and make money off of it, dude, it's just, what are you trying to catch a fish with your bare hands? It's crazy. Like it's just always changing in such weird ways that I looked at it and I was like, I don't think I have it in me to go through all of this, like all the gen eds and all the accounting and all the, I just wasn't looking at it with excitement. And I think I realized I didn't want to do music business. I wanted to understand it so I could be a musician in the industry with some context under my feet.
Awesome. So you also play instruments?
Yeah, I produce. I have played guitar since I was 10. I'm no McGee, I'm no any of that, but I love his stuff and I find a lot of influence in that. And I think when it comes to music, personally, like I said, I'm just trying to connect the human experience to someone else through my expression. And I try to do that with photos too. Like I'm just living my life and trying to beat time. Photography is the best way we figured out how to beat time. I don't think that book would be possible that your family has passed down to you without all of those photos. So you're not going to connect with just words as deeply. When you especially take a film photo, you have a literal piece of film here with the picture on it forever. It's crazy. Like you have crystals that you've tricked into staying in the same place to represent what you were looking at. It's insane. It's just as crazy as like tape for audio. It's just like magnetic dust that's like in the right place representing the right waveforms. Like it's crazy that we figured out how to make art at all and package it. Like it blows my mind all the time. But photography and music and video work and whatever else I'm expressing myself through, I just find to be how I'm trying to talk to people.
Nice. What initially drew you to photography and art?
Taking those 4 years in high school of film, I was just like eventually enamored with the process. And I was like, wow, this is incredible that you were doing this. You watch like a film picture develop on the paper in the dark room in front of you, and you're like, it feels like magic. The same way that like AI telling you exactly how much a plane weighs feels like magic. It's just a gap in the advancement of like where we've been as people and the tools around art. But I felt so captured by like the same feeling of magic there with watching stuff develop. And I just carried that on and I found really great people out here. I started shooting photo again really 2022, where I was shooting Polaroids a lot and I was doing a couple shows here and there, like the basement and the 5 spot, like on Polaroid. And then I realized, oh, this is fun, but if I want to make any money and if I want to continue doing this as a hobby at all, I probably want to shift into film. And I went to Safe Light and they were great. And I went to Boutique and I've had a really good relationship with the staff at Boutique. They're really great. And Artifact now, I don't know if you've been over there by the shops on Fatherland. They have film and cameras and old VHS cameras refurbished and stuff. It's a really cool space. But the film community here is really the reason I got back into it. It's so accessible and shockingly so, because it's like a dying medium, but what isn't? And if there's like a lot of options for a community to build around that set of tools, then I feel like, I don't know, more people are going to gravitate to it. And it's cool to see the success of places like Boutique and Artifact, because it just shows that more people are getting purposeful with their presence and getting purposeful with, I want to capture this part of my life or that part of my life. It's beautiful, man. Yeah. I love like the tangibility of it. Like I was talking about with holding it, just powerful. I don't know, look up at a memory and see it.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Art is the only other thing that I feel like you can quantify or make it tangible.
Yeah.
Every workout experience or like I used to rock, I guess you could capture it on video, but it's like you have to experience it to know what rock climbing is. But with music, you can hear it, you can see someone play it, and with art or like with photography, you can see what they saw. Like it's much more, you can grasp it.
Yeah.
I always liked that aspect of it.
I think that's on purpose too. People are really trying to tell you something through the art. And I think you can tell when people aren't trying to really tell you anything. And I think that's where we get into the, all right, what are we singing about right now? What is this picture of? Why are we looking at this? I think there's like validity in the art critique outside of art school. I'm not one to dog on anyone else's work by any means, but I think you can just tell when someone's like trying to make that leap between people happen, and it's pretty obvious a lot of the time.
What would you say keeps you passionate about it?
Time's just moving, man. Time is moving every day, and it makes me sick. And it's beautiful, and it makes me sick. But yeah, like I said, photography is a battle against time. I think you capture a moment physically for as long as it's gonna last, save for natural disaster or just wearing down. But you get to really hold on to something that you can never touch again for a little while. And it's the only triumph we have against time, I think, so far, is art. But specifically photography makes me feel that way.
Wow, that's awesome. How do you develop your artistic skills, like such as photography? Do you have like routines, or how does one go about getting better at it?
I just think it's that intention, man. Like I've got a couple series of photo work that I have going like on the back burner at all times, because if I see an opportunity and I want to add that into a collection of work, then I'm like, oh, we'll do this now. And I don't have like hard lines on when stuff begins and ends as a series, but I find those helpful to keep me working. I like how much this podcast celebrates local art and connects a lot of people that I don't know would like normally gravitate to the same room otherwise than celebrating art together. And I have a series I've been working on, just artists at home around town. And it's been a minute since I've done anything for it, but I've done 4 or 5 shoots so far. I want to do maybe 10, but it's artists in their home in Nashville and just showing like where their creative workspace is, a lot like this, and then showing like where they don't work in their house, the place where it's, like you said, dedicated to sleeping and reading, and just getting a look at everyone's like shakeout in town. I think music studios are great. Everyone's producer setup is sick, but I'm not all that excited by them. I'm more excited by the seamstress and like the author and like the painter. And I've had a lot more fun with those environments because I'm asking questions out of a place of genuine curiosity, because these are things that I'm not privy to. These are things that I'm getting a look in. And I've been in a lot of studios. So I guess the whole point of the series is no studios.
Yeah,
Just houses where people happen to be making very cool shit.
the personal space.
Yeah.
It reflects the human.
Yeah. My buddy Danny has this huge garage studio where he's painting like massive paintings in there. And we did a shoot last year. Like studios, yes, like creative workspace studios. But I guess if I were to do a look into all the production music spaces in town, that would feel like it would have to be a different thing for me. I don't know, just like a room with a computer and some speakers in it is very cool, but a little less engaging to me than someone who's. I did a shoot with Julianne, and she's an author from Germany, and she's translating her novel. She's probably done it by now since last we talked, but at the time of our shoot, she was translating her novel she had written from German into English to sell here and publish here. And she was doing that herself because getting a translator for your work is like incredibly expensive. And I had never thought about that process whatsoever. And here I am in her house on a Tuesday, and we're just talking about like how damn expensive it is to get someone to speak German for you. Like just
Wow.
random. I just think it opens the door to a lot of cool life stuff that you really wouldn't find otherwise if you weren't seeking out people the way that you are also with this project.
Yeah.
It's really valuable, I think.
Yeah, I like that you're able to go to their spaces and capture their creative space of where they conceptualize all their ideas.
People have cool workspaces out here.
Yeah.
My friend Julian does a lot of denim work, and he's a great clothing designer. I have this jacket from him, actually. I literally forgot that I'm wearing pocket nails online. He takes a lot of repurposed fabric and stuff, and his work is really cool. I just very much dig what he's up to. But he's got a poster up around town for denim repair right now. And if you have a blown out pair of jeans or something, or you need a patch put on something, I'll be taking these to him soon. I've ripped this a little too much, but I just took a pair of jeans to him not long ago, and he sewed it up. He does sashiko stitching too, so he'll stitch designs into it for you. He's the goat, man. It's crazy.
What's his name?
Look up Pocket Nails online. That's his Instagram handle for the designing. Yeah. But Julian's the coolest. And Pocket Nails is his like umbrella for the designing stuff. But he'll do denim repair, great stuff. Quick too. But I found through Dom, the guy that I was talking about earlier with the vintage stuff, I found this big like old Japanese mail carrier sack with some old printing on it. And I was like, I need to have that because it's so cool looking. I don't know what I would do with it. No clue. But I know Julian would do something crazy with it. So I took it to him and he made like a handbag out of it in 2 days. It was nuts.
Wow.
Crazy. I would look him up. Cool guy. But
Yeah.
I would never have learned all of that about him had I not been like, let's get coffee and take some photos of you just for fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. So can you walk us through your creative process from like conceptualization to like final image?
When it comes to like photo stuff, if it's not a job or if it's not like a show that I'm shooting or an album cover or something for somebody, when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's more collaborative where I ask them, what are you expecting? What do you need out of this? What are you hoping to get back when I have film back or when we wrap a video or production or something? I find it best to establish expectations and then go into it with a little bit of the creative freedom that they give you. When it comes to personal work, I don't know, man. I just see it in my brain and then I have to do it or I don't do it. And this is going to sound crazy, but I think truly, if I was going to give you some like whimsical out there idea about creativity and the nature of it, I think that when you have an idea that is so good that you can't quit thinking about it, you have 15 minutes to make that idea start happening, or it's going to go to someone else and they're going to do it better. Because this has happened so many times to me. I'm not saying I've invented like something incredible and I'm like, oh, it's at Walmart. No. But like you have an idea. And the thing is, it's just a good idea. So of course someone else is going to have it. But I think you have an opportunity to really start and lay those roots and get into it before it might pass on to someone else that's going to do it. Songs, photo series, whatever, it's not too specific. But I've talked to a lot of creatives that are like, you ask any creative, have you had an idea you didn't make happen and you saw it somewhere out in the world that made you pissed off? Everyone's going to say yes, I think. If your brain is in that space all the time of conceptualizing stuff alongside your day to day, like in traffic, then of course you're going to see a Jordan Peele movie and you're going to be like, I thought of that. You didn't write it. Of course you didn't think of it, but concepts.
I definitely understand.
They might pass along to the other people who are more willing to make them happen.
Yeah.
Good ideas demand to be made, I think.
And it's, if you've thought it, then most likely someone else has also thought of it.
Or seen it.
Yeah.
The ideas are good, man. And if they're good, they'll be made one way or another.
Nice. So how do you approach lighting, composition, and other technical elements when it comes to film?
Depends. I really enjoy shooting Cinestill film. Kodak is great, but Cinestill is like repurposed motion picture film to be for stills. And it's beautiful just out of camera. The light looks crazy. So if you're getting like the right ISO and you're getting the right stuff, then you're probably fine with film. Film is pretty forgiving, weirdly, for how high stakes it is. You get 36 shots. So if you're shooting a show at the 5 spot or the basement, you just want to walk around the room and get an idea of the light before you start. And I think any photographer that's worth their weight knows to check your lighting and walk around your room and think about shots ahead of time and talk to the band about what shots they're hoping to get back tonight, that kind of stuff. But if it's personal work, I just love shooting outside. The sun is the best light if you're using film, especially. An overcast day is really good for portrait stuff. It gives you a very even keel lighting. Golden hour is obviously beautiful. Blue hour at just before sunrise is incredibly beautiful for stuff like that. I've done some shoots at sunrise that have been really fun. I did a shoot with Quinn O'Donnell, a good friend of mine. She and I did a shoot on Fatherland at sunrise for a song she was putting out a couple years back. And we were up so early for that. We had a friend of hers at the time drive a car like past her. We were trying to do this like long exposure thing where she was like, the idea she came to me with was, I want to look like I'm going to get hit by a car. And I was like, okay, this is film photography. I need to make that happen because it's a really good idea, but I need to think about how to do it, obviously. Like her initial idea was maybe like a shot from above while she's on the ground and there's a car coming at her. And I was like, that's going to be really hard to achieve without you dying. So I would prefer we try, I don't know. So the idea we came up with was she stood on the sidewalk and I was on the other side of the road. And we had a car drive past in between us. And I just took a long exposure shot. And it looked like she was a ghost and the car was driving through her. And you can really achieve cool stuff with film if you just think about it a little bit. But I've also done a lot of not good stuff with film because of a lack of thinking about it a little bit. You just got to go in prepared. And that was a shoot that I'm really proud of because it was one where we went in prepared. Got some scrambled eggs at 7 a.m. afterward. Not a bad day. Very good day, in fact.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never really thought of like how do you capture a moment where it looks like it's about to happen.
You just gotta. The cool thing on film, obviously, digital cameras have long exposure settings and stuff, but film that's like on there. The streaks of the taillight is burned into the image, like you did it. You don't have to go in the computer and like, lay something over or like boost colors or anything. It's just on there. It's always going to look better if you do it for real. I think that's the lesson that I've learned the most with like conceptual stuff, with any visual stuff. If you want it to look good, do it for real. That's why all the movies with puppets in the 80s, like Star Wars puppets, look so much better than CGI. Star Wars monsters now.
Yeah.
They're more endearing too. You're just like, I know that's a puppet.
But someone made it.
And it looks better because the people are in the room with it and they can touch it. Like, it's not just like a guy in a suit. It's not, what's his name that did Gollum and Smeagol and all the other ones.
Andy Serkis.
Yeah, dude. He's does he live in a green screen suit? Does he have real clothes? Because he's always in like
there's dots all over him.
I think that those are permanent. You pluck one off, he's going to start bleeding out of it. I'm scared for him. He's living in that suit.
Like the green screen dots?
Yeah. You don't want to pull one of those off of him. Those hold him together, like structurally at this point. He's always in CG.
That's funny because Ian McDiarmid, I'm pretty sure he played Gandalf. When it came to the Hobbit films, he like cried on set because he got so used to being like in New Zealand or in the world or whatever. But then the Hobbit movies were all green screen. And so he was like, I can't act this way.
They didn't even go back? The Shire's still there. They didn't take any of that down. You can go now.
Yeah.
Why they just... All right, whatever. I'm going to get mad.
That's why I didn't watch any of the Hobbit movies.
You liked Lord of the Rings?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
dude,
crazy.
I had all the action figures. I was like super into Lord of the Rings.
Have I got an anecdote for you that just happened 2 weeks ago? I'm so glad that you like Lord of the Rings. At the restaurant I work at over here in East, I served the man himself. I served Frodo. He was there.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood came in, and we all knew immediately that it was him. Because it's Elijah Wood. He's the same looking guy. He's just an adult man with the same blue eyes and everything. Yeah. Sweetest dude ever, by the way. Like, really? We serve a lot of celebrities and people that are like in town for the weekend that have never been to Nashville. So obviously you're going to get people like that. But Elijah Wood comes in, super sweet. He and his family are eating, and all of us on staff are like, we can't make this weird. This is Elijah Wood. We got to let him have his day. We love the guy, but got to let him have his breakfast. So I decided after he paid and he was waiting for the car to come get them that I would do a bit and try to make him laugh because I love making people laugh and I love Elijah Wood. I like knew some of his deep cuts, man. Like I was going to be like, I love Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agent, like a show that he did that people don't talk about. I could have gone deep on the connection with him, but I decided to just lean into his ear, which he's a very trusting man. I leaned into his ear, said, Mr. Wood, I have a quick question for you before you leave. I didn't call him Mr. Wood. I'm sorry. I just said, hey man, I got a quick question for you before you leave. And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I said, Vin Vil, just into his ear. And he let out one, like one laugh, singular. Have you seen that video, the interview from Lord of the Rings when they're filming it? It's this like big meme that happened where the guy that plays Pippin is interviewing Elijah Wood on set at Lord of the Rings, and he doesn't know he's going to be interviewed by his buddy. So he comes and he's like sitting there. He's like, are you interviewing me? And he goes, I have questions for you, and does this weird little Eastern European voice. And he's like, When will you wear wigs? And won't break for the whole interview. I think you'll like it as a fan of the series, but you don't get to do the meme at the guy. I was like, this is such an opportunity. I can't fumble this. I did the meme at the guy. It was great, and he loved it, I think. He didn't seem too weirded out. I think that's a success.
Did he say thank you, or was he like...
He said, I asked him, When will you wear wigs? I had to know when he'll wear wigs. I got to know. And he said, eventually I'll wear wigs. And that was the whole interaction. He like laughed. And Then a coworker of mine showed up who happens to literally be reading the 3 books at this time, and he had fellowship on him and got it signed, which was really cool. Again, really cool guy, sweet dude. But he signed it as Frodo, and he said Elijah Wood in parentheses.
Nice.
Which
Wow.
I found cool.
That's amazing. Have you ever seen the movie The Good Son?
I haven't.
It's got Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin. It's a really dark movie, but it's really good.
Heard. Macaulay Culkin was in a lot of... After Home Alone, it was looking bad for Macaulay Culkin.
They were both kids
back,
in this movie.
Was that after Home Alone or before?
Maybe after. Macaulay Culkin's still 9 in this movie, and he's like an evil kid who like makes a nail gun to kill cats, and he throws like a dummy into the freeway, and it causes like a 60-car pileup.
Arguably, this could be Home Alone extended.
It is. It's like the evil version of...
He was throwing bricks at those men's heads from the top of a 5-story building. I would
Paint
argue...
cans.
Yeah, I'd argue Marv and Harry didn't have good enough lawyers. They could have had that kid in jail, honestly. Right. He was trying to murder them.
Yeah.
I think he was really going for it. Home protection should stop at, get out of here, if that. Bricks, sir, relax. Yeah. They're here to burglarize. Bricks?
They don't murder them, yeah.
I don't know. The lead pipe was the one as a kid where I was like, they're dead. God, I think they're gone. No, not good.
Or yeah, when he burns the rope and they hit the ground.
Dude, I don't think I'd survive any of those.
No.
The worst was when he steps on the nail with the tar on his foot. Oh my God. When he turns into a skeleton for a second when he's getting electrocuted. Yeah. They really got me crying laughing as a child. They set the tone for my humor real quick with that.
When I was younger, I was like, I hope someone tries to break into my house so that I can fuck with them.
You're setting up like little traps.
Yeah, we tried, my brother and I would try to make traps and have things fall on someone, and like we were like really into it.
Fair enough. I've been known as a child to put a bucket above a doorway just to see what would happen. It often would fall on myself because I'd forget I did it. But hey, there you go. That's a learning experience.
That's awesome. So are there any like specific or like where would you find inspiration for your work?
I think other people's work is beautiful to live with. But when it comes to the inspiration for my own work, I don't know. No one can be so aloof to say that, oh, the 5 top artists I listen to in my life aren't influencing everything I do. I think you pick the people that you want to influence you the most. And I try to just stay true to what in the moment I'm feeling. And obviously that's influenced by what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, what I'm taking in. I think there's this saying my mom always had when she talked about keeping secular music out of the house was she'd say, what goes in comes out. And I think there's truth to that. You get some music with certain ideas in your head, then you're thinking that way. You train your thought patterns with what you're allowing into your life, I think. And I allow a lot of music and a lot of art in my life. So it's a grab bag of what's actually influencing me at the time. But we could go top 5 for top 5 on Spotify Wrapped. I don't know. I'm an Apple Music guy, but was your Spotify Wrapped interesting to you last year? Are you one to care about the wrap up at the end of the year?
Yeah, it definitely reflected my obsessions at that time.
Give me a couple obsessions, man. I gotta know.
When I was younger, I didn't understand this band. I thought they were annoying. But then I like got into Creed. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And then I was like super into Ministry. Have you ever heard of that band? It's an industrial metal band from the 80s and 90s.
Wow.
And that influenced like 9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Tool. Like Al Jorgensen is the lead singer, and he was the precursor to all of that music. And 9 Inch, Trent Reznor was like his roadie in the 80s.
Oh, that's crazy.
And like Trent wanted to be Al. Like that was his...
Man.
And so I had
Trent's had a pivot too. Got a very cool career now doing soundtrack work.
Yeah.
I love the Social Network soundtrack and the Challenger soundtrack he just did. But you have something of his?
Yeah, I have Al Jorgensen's autobiography next to my bed. And It's insane, dude. Talk about what people were like before social media and before cameras were accessible. I'll give this like really quick story, but so Bill, Trent Reznor, Al Jorgensen, and one other guy were all in the studio in the 90s. And Al goes, all right, here are the rules. If anyone falls asleep, we're shaving your head and your eyebrows. And so he like roofies Trent Reznor and he roofies the drummer, Bill Rieflin. And then he goes in the bathroom, does all his coke. And then like they like pass out and he shaves the drummer's head and shaves the eyebrows. And then he shaves Trent Reznor's head, and then Trent wakes up and is like, dude, what the hell are you doing? He's like, you fell asleep. These are the rules. And then Trent goes to the mirror. He's like, oh my God, what did you do? And half his eyebrow was shaved and half his hair was shaved.
Half and half.
And then a
Nefarious.
couple months later, Trent Reznor was on the face of this magazine and it says, Trent Reznor sets new hair trend. And Al Jordanson's, yeah, I did that to him.
So he didn't get it shaved all the way down and fixed? He just lived with it?
Yeah. So and then there's a picture of him like with half of it, and people thought that he was setting a new hair trend.
Own it.
So yeah, Al
Own it.
Jordanson was
There you
a insane dude. His father figures were Timothy Leary and William S. Burroughs. And
Man.
Timothy Leary would feed him these concoctions of psychedelics, and he would trip for days and days. And
Yeah, that'll ruin your brain.
yeah,
That'll do
but
it.
he was the most insane person I've ever read about, because even in high school, he would shoot cocaine, and then he would go to baseball practice, and he'd be the all-star baseball player. And he said, like, all the jocks hated him because he was doing drugs, and none of the geeks or anyone else liked him because he was just so weird. And it's, oh my God, dude, like, how do you get that balls to the wall at such a young age?
That is very unimaginable to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so he was like an addicted heroin addict for 20 plus years. It's a miracle that he's alive. He's almost like Keith Richards, that he would just do all kind of, like, he would talk about, man, before a show, I'd be shitting and pissing blood. But I thought that was normal as a rock star. And it's, oh my God, dude.
I thought that was normal as a rock star.
And there's a picture of him.
What are you talking about?
There's a picture of him wearing a diaper, and he's, yeah, I don't know why I was wearing a diaper. Oh, yeah, I do. It was my birthday.
Wow.
This guy is... So I fell down a rabbit hole of studying him and his music and understanding how does someone get this crazy, and it became an obsession.
Fair enough.
I spent probably maybe 80 to 100 hours watching video of him, interviews with him, watching all his concerts, and you sparked my interest. And so that is probably one of the reasons why he was one of my top Spotify artists of last year.
There you are.
I get really into the artist, and then I get really into the music. So I study the person, and then I study what they were listening to, and then listen to the music.
I tend to do that with people that are really captivating too. I think that's a strength in the ability to like observe the art and then apply it to your life.
Yeah.
If so, there's obviously going to be like the Dijon, McGee, Frank Ocean top 5 for me. It's unavoidable in this stage of music. If you like alternative or R&B or anything, they're doing the most right now. But there's even people that are coming to the scene that are surprising me. Like Doce is crazy. Have you heard any of that stuff?
Who is it?
She just won the Grammy. Doechii?
I don't know.
I've been saying Doce, and everyone around me is saying Doechii. But she was on the new Tyler, the Creator record, and she just won a Grammy for her own record. And her song that's like super popular right now is Denial is a River in Egypt, which is a Wendy Williams quote. Do you know her at all?
No.
Dude, Wendy Williams is the best. I would like to take a moment to talk about Wendy Williams and why she's funny as shit. She's so funny.
It's funny you say that, because I do know a Wendy Williams, but it's not that Wendy Williams.
If you knew this Wendy Williams, I would like to have that connect happen. She's very funny. Wendy Williams had a radio show in New York in the 90s, and then eventually a talk TV show, like a daytime talk TV show, where she would just gossip about celebrity stuff and be like generally mean and funny. But she has this running bit where it's called Shady Cameraman. If you go on YouTube and just look up Wendy Williams, Shady Cameraman, I hope you laugh the way I laugh at it. But she'll be talking about, and you saw her bangs just look terrible. Her new bangs look awful. Talking about some celebrity. And then the B camera guy will focus on someone in the crowd with bad bangs. And they cut to that person. And it's evil, dude, because it's always so funny every time. And then they'll cut back to Wendy, who has the monitor in front of her. So she sees that they're doing that to try to make her break. And I don't know, there's a couple like hour-long compilations that I think just kick your feet up and really enjoy yourself to some Shady Cameraman. Yeah, I don't know why I needed to talk about Wendy Williams for a minute, but she's very important. She's the coolest.
Cool, I'll check her out. Growing up, my friend's mom's name was Wendy Williams.
Could be a cool lady.
That was the only way I knew.
Maybe she's living a double life. Maybe she's just talking mad shit on the radio.
Maybe. She wasn't super funny, so it's probably different.
Save it for the radio.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll just say one more thing about Al, but like, when you see a picture of him, you'll understand where Johnny Depp got his idea for Captain Jack Sparrow.
Really?
This guy is Captain Jack Sparrow.
All the accessories.
Well,
And
yeah, and the way
jar of dirt
he's
walk.
like drunk, but he has like a swagger to him. He's very odd in that way. If you see his stage antics, the way he like does this kind of thing, it looks just like Johnny Depp as Al Jordison.
That's wild.
And Johnny Depp was in a band with Al in the 90s.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know Johnny Depp actually played music. I've seen his cologne commercial where he's playing a guitar in the middle of the desert and wolves are just there. Well, I didn't know he really knew how to play that guitar. I thought he was just holding the thing.
Yeah, he had a band called P in the early 90s.
How's that spelled?
Like letter P and period.
Interesting. I was going to say if it's P-E-E, I'm not going to listen, I don't think.
No, it's just P.
Fair enough.
But yeah, those were... What about you? Who were your top artists?
I did spend a lot of time with Boards of Canada. They're electronic. I love their stuff so much. I found a beautiful place out in the country, that record of theirs, at The Groove over on Gallatin or off Gallatin. And it was the first record of theirs I sat with front to back, and I loved it. They're so cool. But they've been in my top 5 for a while. Yeah, I'd be remiss not to mention like the McGee stuff, the 2-Star album you were talking about, riding your bike to at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I guess
crazy.
I have to say that was also one of my top artists.
It's just like one of the best records we've gotten in a long time.
Definitely.
It's very good. I was at a cabin in Nashville last February working on this record that I'm about to put out maybe this month or next month, but it's finished and I'm excited about it. But I started making this record last February at this cabin in Nashville, and I was there for my birthday, like to get a solo trip in and just go make music and have an Airbnb to myself, which is pretty nice. But leaving Asheville, driving back to Nash, I looked on my phone and I saw that album had come out. So I had made music for a week without hearing any of the new McGee stuff. And I had been a McGee fan for years. I loved the Museum of Contradiction album. If they had pressed it, I would have multiple copies, but they hadn't pressed it and they probably won't. That album is as good as 2-Star, in my opinion. It's incredible. It's like an ambient album with like bedroom pop punching into it. And I do find a lot of my work is probably inspired by that record of his, that Museum of Contradiction. But I came back on this road trip from Asheville to here listening to 2-Star, and I was like, dude, I'm so glad that I just made music for a week without hearing this, because if I had heard this, it would have influenced me way too heavily. Like, it's infectious. It's really great. But some art, when it comes to choosing a soundtrack for my life, I get too into it to the point where I'm like, I got to listen to something else. I got to put this down for a minute. And I'd be silly to not admit that like those albums that you choose as your life soundtrack obviously seep into your work. So I'm glad I had a week without that album existing to get some stuff out and write this record, because it's all I've been listening to since it came out. Not all, but a lot of it. Also, JD Beck and DOMI, they're a duo from, I think, Europe. But one of them plays keys and the other plays just drums. And their stuff is all instrumental, but it'll feature like Anderson .Paak, or it'll feature like Mac DeMarco and other people like that. Snoop Dogg's on one of their songs. They had a record called Not Tight, and I've not been able to put that down since it came out. It is incredible. They have an Aphex Twin cover of, I think, Film or Is Us. But either way, it's one of those two songs, and they're playing it all live. Like, one is on the drums playing this ridiculous time signature, completely locked in. And they look so young. They can't be 25 yet. They look very young.
Yeah.
And they're super just locked in. And I've not been able to put that down either. It's one to check out, I think.
That's awesome. I met JD and Dami back in 2018.
No way.
They were here in Nashville.
They're so legit,
at House Jam. I went there and I didn't really know I was like, who's this kid? And he had the fanny pack across his chest. That was like really big then. And I was just like, who's this hipster looking kid? Right. And then he started playing drums. Now, who is this guy?
No, the video of him at, where was it? It might have been there at where your hat is.
Zildjian?
I've never been able to say it with confidence. Zildjian?
Yeah.
Thank you. There are some words in this world that have so many consonants, I don't even fucking try. I'm just like, whatever. But I think it was at the Zildjian like place or a factory or something. But like Dave Grohl is in there. They have all these like massive drummers. Just watching him all of them have over-ear headphones on, just watching him locked in, like on a drum solo for 10 minutes. And the video is crazy, but those kinds of people just make the room halt, man.
Definitely.
How did that feel to watch him in a house jam? I can't imagine.
It was cool. I didn't know who he was, but I went up to him afterwards and I was like, hey, I'm Jordan. And then I said, good job, whatever. And then he was like, Dami, he's telling us good job. And then she was like, oh, thank you, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to leave him alone.
How wild. What a meet, man.
And
They're crazy.
that was like before they, I guess, blew up.
Yeah. That Not Tight record is very tight, ironically.
Yeah. Are they still on the scene still? Or
they've got to be working on their next record now.
Yeah.
It's been a year or two at least since that came out. But I would be surprised if we don't get another record from them here soon, featuring some cool people in the indie scene.
Yeah, he was like 15 when I met him.
That's ridiculous. It's incredible how young some people are, like savants at something, but that's crazy. There's no chance to be famous. These people are so young. They're all like, I don't know, there is a chance. And there is more to be achieved than fame. I don't want to sound like that. But at the time, I felt like, man, time is not on my side at all. It's slipping. These people are like playing piano like it's nothing at 15 years old, or drumming in a time signature that doesn't exist at 15 years old. I don't know. But the comparison is the thief of joy. You can't literally say, you can't. But there are times, I will admit, where the age thing just makes you feel so inadequate. Because you're like, what are you talking about? You're 14, 15 doing this.
Right.
This is crazy. You have to be 21 to get into the show. This is ridiculous. It's incredible, though. I do celebrate it. But
definitely. There's always something to give, though, because they give part of their childhood because of that. So they don't get their childhood back.
I wonder how that affects people, man.
Fucks them up.
Really?
Billie Eilish, yeah. She talks about like how she like didn't ever, because when they're that young and they get famous, what typically happens is they stay in the mindset that they were when they got famous. So it's almost like they don't age.
Man.
Because they're in the spotlight and everyone's watching everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
makes you wonder.
Billie Eilish's work ethic can be attributed to her parents saying, you can stay up late only if you do work on productive stuff. If you're not going to work on productive stuff, you have to go to sleep. So she attributes that to like her hard work ethic with everything that she created.
That is incredible.
But like she talks about how she didn't really get to have a childhood, and Macaulay to have a childhood. A lot of child stars, and it's like Raynor James Keenan Toole talks about, like, he said, see, we were fortunate enough, we didn't get famous till we were in our late 20s, early 30s, because I've met people who were like 22 and they got famous, and they're assholes. And we were older, more mature, so we were able to handle it better.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be a child star.
Yeah.
That feeling of inadequacy of, oh, there's no chance. You live with that when you're like 18, 19, realizing how much younger everyone is behind you that's doing the same thing you're trying to do. But
something's got to give.
And there's such a fortunate like reality to what you're saying. Like getting famous as an adult, if you're going to be famous, or if you're going to have your work celebrated, and you're going to, whatever it looks like for you. I do think it's probably for the better that you have a little bit of lived experience under your belt before you're like trusted with a budget, and you have people that are like answering to you, and you have people that are your assistant. Like, you don't know how to treat those people at all. You haven't worked a real job. You don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad that like I was returning the carts at a grocery store as my first job, while I could have been a 15-year-old superstar. I'm glad that I But I think like everyone should probably work a real job at some point in their life. It really does teach you how to, we're saying, like talk to people. Like a young child traveling on a plane by themselves is going to learn how to talk to people. Working at a grocery store when you're 15 teaches you how not to treat people, because people treat you like shit all day. So I think there's value in getting out in the world and just experiencing it. Definitely. Especially when you're like figuring out what's important to you.
Definitely. Even Sting didn't get famous till he was 27.
Sting plug.
He was a
golden boy.
English teacher.
Really? English teacher?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's why there's a song called Don't Stand So Close to Me.
There you go. What do you think Flea did before he got famous?
He was like 14 or 15 when he got famous.
Really? Yeah. I was just thinking of Flea the other day, and I was like, I wonder what his life would have been like before that.
He was doing a lot of acid.
At 14?
Yeah. Have you read the
I've
Children
seen
of Acid
I've
book?
seen the book, but I've not read it. Is it
Yeah,
literally
I
about
mean,
his
yeah, he
life
was
as a
like,
child
I
on
mean,
acid?
same with
That's
Anthony
insane.
Kiedis. He was doing acid and heroin when he was like 12.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dare is failing. What's going on?
yeah.
What the hell's going on? Dare is directed at these children, and it's not working.
Anthony Kiedis' dad used to sell drugs to all the celebrities.
There you go.
And then Anthony Kiedis' dad was like to his girlfriend, "Will you have sex with my son and break him in?" And he was like,
People are crazy, man.
12, and she was like 18 or 20, and he like didn't have a childhood either.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
People do get robbed of that when, yeah, there's like a definite value to innocence for sure.
Definitely.
Never gonna negate that. That's for real.
Yeah, because even Michael Jackson didn't have a childhood. That's why he was obsessed with Neverland
Yeah.
and being around children.
Did you ever see the episode of Atlanta? Have you seen Atlanta? The show Donald Glover did, bro. It's incredible.
Really?
They have an episode. I think it's the one that won them an Emmy, where a side character, a B character named Darius, goes on like a Facebook Marketplace hunt for this old piano, and he shows up at the house of like who is Michael Jackson in this universe, like a shut-in post pop star that's like making his house into a museum for himself and has had no visitors in decades, and he's insane. And it's like it's a horror episode, but the show is just like an incredible look at like rap culture and at just general pop culture. Honestly, they did a really good job of packaging all of that into a show, and it's very funny. But Donald Glover is the lead, and that episode is worth a watch. Donald Glover himself puts on like a white face almost and plays like a Michael Jackson-esque character. Oh, you didn't want to go into the attic with me? It's like super creepy.
Wow.
And it's very good. But I think that was their showing the Neverlandy thing where you're like stuck in an arrested state of development. There's a lot of that happens with the stardom, I think. It does rob you of something.
It does. And all the kids who are born of famous people, it's almost like they're always in the shadow of their parents, or like they always have this like fraud feeling, like they're a fraud because they just grew up and they were already famous and didn't really earn it. So there's like different levels of psychological difficulty that happens when you go through that at a young age.
Some of them are cool.
Yeah.
Jack Quaid's pretty fun. He's the actor that's in a lot of stuff. His dad's Randy Quaid. And I think there are some Nepo babies that are pretty damn good at what they do, and I think that if you can do it.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna be good at what they do, but they didn't like, it's almost like they didn't have a choice.
And they had all the connections to just do it because they wanted to.
Michael Jordan's kids were all like pressured to be like as good of a basketball player as he.
Yeah.
And most of them turned to drugs.
I wonder what's going to happen with Bronny. LeBron's kid playing with him on the same team now.
What?
Yeah, dude. LeBron's kid is now on the Lakers with him.
What? That is the most insane legacy I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. It's a dynasty now. There was this whole interaction. One of the guys from ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, he's so funny, by the way. He's one of the funniest people on television. Just what he'll say, and the fact that he knows Gen Z has made him into a meme, and he's whatever about it. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the Stephen A. Smith stuff. He's funny as shit. But he was confronted by LeBron on the court like last week, a week ago maybe. And the next day he goes on TV and he's like, I know you guys all saw LeBron get in my face last night. That was a conversation between the two of us. That was not a conversation between a basketball player and a commentator. That was a father speaking to a man who was speaking about that man's son. Because he's a commentator. He's like, Bronny can't do shit. Bronny's not LeBron. And he's talking down on LeBron's son. But this is an adult man that's in the NBA. You got to let him be a man. You got to let him go fight his own battles. But you're still a dad. So I can't imagine like being in that position as either of them.
That's the most magnificent thing I've ever heard, about the dad being on the same team as his son.
How long you have to play basketball for that to be a possibility is insane.
And still be able to keep up. Like I've never heard of that.
Back in the day, Brett Favre was about getting evaporated every time he was tackled. And we were all like, he's 44. This is not good. Get him out of there. Like we had no faith in his bones at all. He was just 40-something. I think LeBron's getting close. I don't know, but basketball's not a contact sport, but still it's just
elbows
and flopping. He flops a tremendous amount. He's great at it. Yeah, you just falling off of nothing. But
I didn't know that. That's really cool. I've never heard of a sports situation where the son and father, I've heard brothers being like
Against
against
each
each other,
other,
like Peyton
yeah.
Manning and
Or what's his name?
Eli
Swift's
Manning.
boyfriend. What's his name? Kelsey.
Was
And
he
his
a
brother was on the
hockey? Or,
Travis. He's on the Chiefs. And then his brother was on the Eagles for a time, but he just retired. That was the last two brothers I've heard of in sports at the same time in a minute. But they're out there, man.
yeah, Peyton and Eli.
That's the classic.
Yeah.
That was I felt like Avengers Endgame when I was a kid watching. Like, I think they played each other at one point.
Definitely. I think they went to the Super Bowl
That I saw.
against each other.
I was a Colts fan as a kid just because Ohio professional teams are not good historically. And I was like, what's the next geographical team closest to me that I can get into? And it was at a time when Peyton Manning was taking the Colts to great places. So I was like, I am a Colts fan. And I just decided that I was because they were close to Ohio. But yeah, I followed them for a minute. I guess I'd forgotten about that. I remember the Super Bowl they played against the Bears, against Chicago. But anyway, neither here nor there.
So are there any specific artists, movements, or experiences that have influenced your work or influenced you?
I don't know, man. I think celebrating art throughout my life has just informed the way I live. I don't know, like we talked about Radiohead when I came in. You can't meet someone that loves music and doesn't have a favorite Radiohead album. Everyone's got one. Do you have a favorite? Is it In Rainbows?
Maybe, or Kid A.
Dude, Kid A is so stupid. It's incredible. Like, entering on that synth is just, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, I have a whole theory about Radiohead. I think that they sold out the first 2 or 3 records so that they get the money to write Kid A and OK Computer.
Not a bad theory. Dude, Amnesiac is crazy too. Have you sat with that one at all?
A little bit.
Like, kind of some of their best stuff.
That's the song with There on it? Or no, I think that's the album after Amnesiac.
I do think I Might Be Wrong is one of their better songs ever. It's incredible, and it's on Amnesiac. I found at Grimey's not long ago, they had it's a live 6, I think, live songs of Radiohead called I Might Be Wrong, and it's like each one from a different performance, but they were from the Kid A, OK Computer, Amnesiac like time frame of the band, and it's like some of the best live music I've ever heard. It's incredible. So if you like that, I would check out that live record. It's very good stuff. But yeah, I just think like the people I keep around have been influential to me, and I've kept Radiohead around. I've kept like Frank Ocean around. I've kept Dijon around. You want to talk about some of the best live music you've ever heard? Dijon at the Blue Room was just mind blowing. I don't know if you followed much of his work as you've gotten into like the McGee stuff, but Dijon is like, he's so crazy, man. We saw him again at the Blue Room, and this record he put out in 2021 called Absolutely is definitely one of the most like influential things to like the soundtrack of my life. And it's like perfect music. It's stupid how good it is, but the record itself I loved for a time, and then he came to town and the whole room just knew every word. It was one of those shows where like they played 2 nights at the Blue Room, and didn't matter which night you went to, the whole crowd knows every song. And it's just guys playing the music live, and they have a big dining room table on stage with like trash on it, and it looks like it's just a bachelor pad dining room table, but there's all these like octatrack like sequencers and stuff, and they're playing it all live on the dirty dining room table. And they put out a film called Absolutely alongside the record where you watch it and it's like performance takes of the whole record pretty much. But then you feel that you're in this dining room for the whole time, but they pull out and it's a set of a house. And you're just not even thinking about it because the performances are so captivating that you're like, yeah, I believe you, we're in a dining room. But they pull out and it's like a sound stage, just like a fake house that they built to shoot all these live videos in. Crazy stuff. But since 2021, I think that kind of group of creatives has been like pretty dominant on my mind. Just great stuff coming out and not coming out. There's some leaks of McGee stuff that I've heard that's getting on TikTok now. That's 2019 demos that never came out that are like wildly good. So it'd be silly not to keep your eyes on that trend of people, I would say. Like the Matt Champion stuff is crazy. He's associated with them a bit. Dijon is on one of his songs that came out on his Micah's Laundry record this year. And it's, again, just like a perfect album. It's crazy. These people are just dropping, like Saya Gray, her new record is ridiculous. It's just tough to keep up with how much influential work there can be if you really want to attune your taste to it. It's hard to keep up because it's also good. We're in like a really good age of music, I think.
Definitely.
Even though like the streaming thing is weird and the splits are weird and no one really knows what the next thing is going to be as it goes with platforms and consumption. It wasn't the guy from Fleet Foxes, but there was a guy from another indie band like them, and I'm gonna get home and be showering and be like, oh, that's who it was. I'm forgetting it now, but I'll remember it later. But he put out a video, Peck, one of those guys. I saved myself from the shower. One of those guys put out a video like last year, it was like an hour long, talking about how he would restructure the music industry. And I was like, wow. Someone getting paid has to have these opinions because like they're good ideas. It's just, and I can't even begin to like translate what his ideas were because he's like a guy in hipster sunglasses in his backyard, just like telling me
Corey
the problems. Potentially. But hey, I mean, it wasn't pretentious. It was just above my pay grade is what I'm trying to get at. I'm grasping for straws with him. But I do think we need to see like a reform in streaming. I don't think anyone's getting paid enough for the work they're doing.
Yeah, I want to say concerned, but I'm curious as to what AI music is going to do because they're going to just, it's just going to scan the entire internet and then just take it from the artist and produce it. And I don't obviously like that much.
What's your thumbs up, thumbs down on AI?
I love using it to bounce ideas off of or reflect and use it as a journal or like to help me stay more objective.
So you're using it as a tool.
I use it as a tool.
You're not making your whole artistry through it.
No,
I think there's a balance there.
I use it to help as a therapist to keep me objective.
It's fair.
That way I can understand where my blind spots are, where I need to work on myself, or where I'm going too deep. And
is that chat that you're typing into? Or?
Several different ones.
Wild.
Yeah.
I've got friends on the AI thing. I have no like hate towards AI. It's just another advancement in tech. Like it's gonna do stuff, but like you're saying, it's just gonna scan and then generalize. And I don't find that to be constructive when it comes to a finished product. I think there are ways to use it as a tool, like you're saying, use it in your life. But we are now being confronted with this question of, can AI created art stack up to human-made art, and is it as valuable? And I don't know that it is. I don't think it is at all.
I can see. I have an eye and an ear for it. I can tell when it's fake.
I think it's going to get harder to tell, but we can all tell.
Yeah, and it's uncanny valley.
But it's the same thing of we can all tell when you really don't believe what you're singing. We can all tell when you really aren't all that bought into the project you're trying to sell me. We can all read inauthenticity, and I think AI is just another inauthentic way of delivering art. Again, it can be used as a tool. I'm not going to act like I haven't typed in like hamster on a fucking rocket ship going to the moon and it's on fire. I don't know. You type in whatever you want.
Right,
it shows
the generator.
Yeah. And I don't know. I made, when chat first got released to the public, like when it escaped.
Beginning of last year.
I guess it was then. I was typing stuff, just test it to be like, write me an episode of, or a sketch from I Think You Should Leave by Tim Robinson with these characters in this situation. And it does do stuff quick, but it's, again, not generating anything from a place of originality. Right. It's like taking ideas and generalizing them, which people had the same uproar about Photoshop. They're like, oh, photography is photography. You can't mess with it. It's just another advancement. People got mad about the bicycle. People got mad about the toaster. People called libraries communist. We're always fighting a battle against the people that aren't willing to like understand what it is, and they're just already upset. But with AI, I think we can all understand what it is and understand that it's like either a tool or you're making it your whole identity. And that's like a mistake, in my opinion, because you're robbing yourself of the experience of making something, which is half the reason people make shit at all, is to experience the catharsis of getting it out. Yeah, like the expression. And then later the connection to another person who's also had a moment like that and is going to find solace in the place you created sonically, visually, whatever. The computer doesn't put on shoes and go to work and feel shit.
It doesn't have emotion.
And until it does, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to hear anything about its art expression. Until we have robot dishwashers that are like, I can't wait to get off at 9, see my girl. Until then, I have no interest whatsoever in what it has to say.
What I like to do with AI is be like, I like this movie, I like this movie, and I like this movie. Now give me other movies that I might like.
It's great for that.
And then it'll spit it out.
It has the whole internet there. Who knows?
Because I used to go to Google for everything. I used to read article after article, and now I can go to AI, or I can use Google Gemini, and then it'll tell me, and then I basically go on a rabbit hole of using AI to, if I like this book and this book, what are other books that I should read? And then I'll be like, who is the author? When were they born? What is their, or study politics, like what are this person's views? What are that person's views? And then you can fact check it.
It's great for discovery.
Yeah, but I've never used it for art.
It's just, what I'm getting at is the people that are like going onto the image generator and they're like, picture of a man standing in the street covered in like honey or something, and then they use that as their album cover. That's fine, but people are going to swipe past it because it looks like dog shit, and it also isn't that creative or interesting. It's the computer's idea of your idea. Why don't you just take your idea and do something with your hands, and then the idea is real? How powerful, how cool of an experience as people we are given to make what's up here happen instead of, and it's done. You're like, oh, that's cool, whatever.
This is what I'll turn in for my school assignment. Yeah.
Yeah, and
the younger generation is going to be
like I said, my sister's a 4th grade teacher. She's having kids that are turning in projects that are like done by ChatGPT. Like, it's ridiculous. Cheating. Yes, it's cheating. And they have AI detectors now to run because like they had plagiarism detectors when we were in high school. It'd be like, did you copy and paste? It's the same thing, but I can't even imagine how those programs work because chat is just generalizing from all of the internet. So did anyone ever think this before? I don't know. How do you even check it?
And
it's beyond me.
I'm curious as to how these kids are going to develop and learn.
Badly, poorly.
Are they not going to be able to? They're going to be the ones doing surgery on us in 50 years.
We're going to need robot surgeons and pilots because we're already like outsourcing the learning to the robots now. Like we're not going to be able to trust architects in 5 years, I don't think.
They're not going to be able to be as exact.
No. Do you trust a guy that got his degree for medical, his med degree through Zoom?
Yeah, that's true.
I just know a lot of people that cheated through the Zoom college stuff.
Oh, man.
I just know a lot of people, good on them, whatever. It was a tough time. Everyone was discovering things about themselves and doing stupid things and staying inside a lot. We all had a life that is different from the life we have now during like quarantine. But I do know a lot of people that cheated through quarantine college, and that is scary because those are some nurses and some accountants and some architects, and you're like, don't get near me or my money. Don't you dare. I don't know.
Don't build my house.
Don't build my house. Please don't build my house.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we're living in
it's weird, man.
A weird time where now we're getting to technology is moving exponentially faster than it's ever been. And
oh, yeah.
Like with each year, it becomes more advanced than 10 or 15 years.
It's freaky, man. We're like definitely in a post-truth society where I think for the longest time, the word, like communication between people was the biggest way we had of like truth established amongst the masses. We've moved from that into an image-based truth where you can see the truth. I can bring you the truth on like a picture. I can show you like on the newspaper, oh, this happened, or 9/11. Like the image was the power. And I think we're getting past that. I think we can't trust images anymore at all. So how are we to have any of truth or like any basis of like translation of that truth? If someone just typed it in and then polished it. And I've got friends that, this is funny as hell, man. I got a buddy that posted a couple selfies on Instagram, just happened to be AI, selfies of himself. And he was like, you guys didn't notice. We didn't. I didn't know. I know that I work with this guy every day. And I was like, there he is. That's Jared. It looks a lot like him. It does. And he showed me that if you just screenshot the image that the AI thing makes for you, then it compresses it enough to make it look less shiny, like we were talking about how you can tell right away.
Yeah.
There's workarounds for it, and it's getting way quicker and way better. Like it's a $6 app on your phone where it'll make you look like a ripped firefighter, or like you're the groom at a wedding in Dubai, and it just makes a video of you that looks like seamless. It's weird as hell, man. We're again past like the truth of the tangible image, which I don't know if that's a good thing. I think it's tough to imagine where we go next. Like you're saying, it's advancement in like rapid speed. And where are we going?
It's definitely fooling the older generations.
It has for a while. Have you seen the Facebook Live stuff that's been blowing up?
Yeah, family and friends that are older, and they'll share their stuff, and dude, that's not real. Like the robot, like throwing something, like it'll be like throwing trash into a bin or something, and be like, "Wow, we're so screwed. This is gonna take over," and that's not even real. That's not even that's AI doing that.
I'm glad that you can see those and
Yeah,
call
I can
them
see
out.
through it. Yeah,
I'm seeing sillier stuff on my parents' Facebook. Like they're scrolling past like it's a child in a village in Africa, and he's like sitting next to a statue of Jesus made out of Coca-Cola bottles that are empty, and it's clearly AI. And it's a post from a page that is just AI bait to get people to look at it or whatever. But there's this trend on Facebook of these AI pages putting up pictures of children in like desolate situations, being like, "Look what I made. One share equals one prayer. Please share for me." And it's not a real child, obviously, not a real statue of Jesus made out of Coca-Cola bottles or bananas or wrenches or whatever. It's weird, man. There was one of a kid that was like, "Please share, one like equals one prayer." And it's a full airplane. He had built a full airplane out of like sticks of bamboo and bananas and stuff. And I had seen like my grandma like it on Facebook, and I was like, "Nana, no way.
it's
You
not
can't
real.
believe that. You can't believe there's a banana plane somewhere. That's not real at all. Come on." But they're tricking them. They're
Yeah,
tricking them real quick. And I guess we've just got to keep our wits about us.
definitely.
Try to.
Gotta be able to see through it. So, what kind of equipment do you use, and how has technology influenced your work?
I definitely try to stay tact with the stuff I'm using. Everyone makes music on their computer nowadays, but the more stuff you can record with your hands instead of just like telling the computer to do it, I find that people can tell through the art. Just in the way we talked about AI, you can hear a difference in quality and in intent with that kind of stuff. But film camera wise, I got a camera over at Artifact for $150, and it was refurbished, and it was a replacement camera. My tried and true camera that I've shot like weddings on in Hawaii and done like every show in Nashville that I'd gotten paid to shoot up until that point had broke on me. So I got a replacement at Artifact, and it's been tried and true since. I love the feeling of a film camera. I love a Polaroid camera. I love when you get a Polaroid that's good, because there's so many that are not good. It's just really rewarding to use stuff that's like in your hands instead of on the computer. But there's obviously value to that. I scan all my film into a computer, and then I like adjust and crop stuff to make it feel postable or to make it what I wanted it to be. I just think there are people that are purists that are unrealistic, where it's like you can't edit your color on your film after it's scanned. Like you got to use the true color, but no one really cares. I don't think. I think it's tune those people out, man. Just do what you got to do.
And plus, at the end of the day, it has your touch.
Yeah.
If you edited the colors, you did that, and you had the eye to think that that needs to be changed. That is your self-expression.
Yeah, you're right.
No matter if a machine or used a computer, it's you could have just not done that and liked it as it was, but you're like, no, I need to edit this. Those edits came from your mind.
Yeah, and it makes me weary to put photos or music on the internet, because now the AI is just scanning all of it, like referencing all of the stuff that it can for the averaging, because Meta is getting tied in with the real OpenAI people. I don't know that they're like allowed to scan your Instagram for inspiration now, but like I don't foresee that being far off. I think whatever you post on Meta apps is going to be like usable by AI to learn from, if it's not already.
Wow, have you ever asked it to scan your Instagram?
No, I just hope it doesn't.
It can.
I've seen people
I've
be
asked
like,
it to do it tomorrow.
did it give you, what was it called? Where they were having the AI roast you,
I've
roast your
done that
Instagram.
before too.
What did it say to you? Was it mean?
It depends on how aggressive you want it to be.
Aggression 10.
But yeah, sometimes I'll be treat me or come at me as the point of view that you have a certain high IQ and you are this successful in these ways. Now critique me given that you are coming from that point of view. And it'll rip you apart. It'll tell you like you're too scattered, you're all over the place, or there's not really a color theme with your Instagram, or maybe you're spreading yourself too thin. And I think it's all valuable insight, whether it's true or not, just to be like, layered. Like I just want to see what a computer thinks of my drumming or whatever.
Computer, make fun of me real quick.
Yeah.
Intensity 10. I'm just training myself for going back to high school. I don't know.
Like I've been
That'd be
like,
crazy.
study the Nashville artist and tell me what you think is wrong with it. And it'll be like, you need to get better audio, you need blah, 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 you need better cameras, maybe you have, and it'll tell me like all this stuff. And I'm just, like, it'll listen to every episode. And then
that's crazy.
And it'll be like, this is what I think of the podcast host.
To be frank, if someone has like a color scheme on their Instagram in 2025, I think they're probably psychotic. That's cool.
When it's like all black and white. You got too much time on your hands. Yeah.
Not like even the black and white. I mean like people that are like, I'm in my pink season. It's like, all right, go to work, please. I don't know. Like we need people at Buff City Soap. We need them to like, come on, dog. I don't know. I just don't have time for that. I don't know.
And plus the world doesn't necessarily look like that. I think having different colors of different environments, I think is realistic.
You think there's like a further thing than Instagram after Instagram? It's hung around for a lot longer than the last one that everyone thought would be forever, MySpace.
MySpace and Vine.
Dude, yeah, I miss Vine. Did you have a favorite Vine back in the day?
I can't remember. I don't remember if I even used Vine. I definitely had a MySpace.
My cousin had a MySpace for her dog. People were on there, man.
Oh yeah. There's bands that became big because of MySpace. I couldn't name them all, but I remember having a MySpace and having to do the code on the back end so that you could have, because I was obsessed with Blink-182 at this time. So I was like, I want a Blink-182 profile. Like I want Travis Barker and Tom DeLonge and Mark Hoppus all at the top. And you'd have to like copy and paste this code from the internet and then put it in your profile. And then
they're making you work.
Yeah, you had to do a lot of work. And if you messed it up, then it would like make your profile super slow. Like when someone looked at it, and you would like have to like, I want this song to play right when they open the page, and then you would do all this code.
I forgot about the songs on the homepage.
You had to do a lot of coding to,
or on your profile.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And you could have like little things that people could fill out. Yeah,
like little question and answer responses.
And you could be like, these are my best friends, and you could order your friends in like the friend space. And
I'm glad they didn't have that when I was in high school. I would have gone insane. That's not good.
Yeah, no.
I'm glad Close Friends Instagram wasn't around when I was in high school. That would have made me so sad all the time. Close Friends Instagram?
Oh, is that a thing? Or...
You can do like stories that are just for a handful of people.
Oh yeah.
And I have friends that have 400 people on their close friends list, and I have friends that have 4 people. I am closer to the 4. I have, I think, I don't know, a couple people on there. It's like family and friends. It's like people that I've talked to recently enough to be like, they care about what I'm doing when I don't want to like post. But some people probably are using it vindictively and weirdly. And I imagine those people are high schoolers. I don't think that Close Friends Instagram is making the average high schooler very confident in their friendships right now.
Yeah, and what's also crazy is like kids in high school that have like tens of thousands of followers, and then it's like you may or may not be popular in school, but then your life outside.
That's crazy.
Because like we grew up with Facebook, and so it's like, how many friends do you have on Facebook?
I was on Farmville on Facebook, man.
Yeah, Farmville.
I was just trying to grow my strawberries. Right. Everyone else was all concerned about poking and all these other
poking. Yeah, that was some weird shit.
I did Cityville and Farmville, and that was like I was on Facebook. I was oversharing like the rest of us as like a teenager, just trying to say stuff and get a response. But like Farmville and Cityville, too much of my time.
You go visit other people's farms.
Oh yeah, and you get mad jealous. You're like, dude, he's so organized. I have none of it. Yeah,
I remember
Penguin was the one too.
Oh yeah, I remember teachers giving us shit and be like, y'all waste y'all's time on Farmville, and so y'all are like in a different like realm than we were when we were in high school, and they're like roasting us, and now we look back at them, yeah, you're absolutely right, you wasted so much time on that.
But hey, you had fun.
Yeah.
So was that time wasted, or was that Farmville time enriching to you?
It was organizing, and you did learn how to the process of, okay, I need to like time it to where all my crops will come up at the same time. So I guess you do learn organization skills and like kind of color theory and like how you want your plants to come about around your farm. So I think there is like an interior designing element to it that I thought was cool.
A lot like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
My parents said that was a waste of time. I didn't think so.
Yeah,
I was
no.
building roller coasters that would kill people because they were so fast and they would go so high and then so low and so high and so low. You can and you ride the roller coaster yourself.
Oh yeah,
which was fun. That and then the Tiger Woods PGA Tour, dude. This is so stupid. When I was a kid, I realized that playing the golf game on my PlayStation, you could turn around and face the crowd as aiming. And I was like,
hit the ball in the crowd.
I didn't think it would work. I was just like, hi, you can aim at the people and they'll get scared because they'd be like, when you like, dude, you'd swing back and hold it there and they'd be like terrified, like cowering. But it would let you hit the audience with the ball. And you'd swing, crack down, and one hits the guy in the stomach. He just folds and just. I was in tears
That's
laughing.
hilarious.
And I think I played for 2 straight hours of just hitting the ground because it was so stupid that they put that in the game. I don't know why you'd include that.
Definitely.
Kids aren't going to learn how to play golf.
Yeah, I remember playing NASCAR Thunder like 2002 or something, and I never raced. What I would do is just turn around and try
Go at the other car.
Yeah, and try and rant and cause as much of a car pile up as I could.
Yeah.
And the commentators were like, "What does this guy think this is? Demolition Derby?"
There you go.
I'm like, "Of course."
You get the robots mad at you. That's a real treat.
Yeah.
They're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Ricky Bobby. That's who I think I am.
Right. I'm a kamikaze NASCAR.
You're causing an international incident.
Seriously, how would you best describe your unique style and approach to photography?
I just care about the people a lot, man. And I think we've talked about that a bit today in and out of recording. But in a place like Nashville, it's the people. I think like keeping a good community around you and being authentic to yourself is the best go at a creative life you can have, especially here. And yeah, I have a specific eye that other people don't have. They have eyes that I don't have. But when it comes to the unique aspects of my creative work, it's really been more about the ideas that other people bring me that I can get excited about, or like a project that I can get excited about that isn't mine. I love my own work and I love having projects that are like from my brain, but I think the uniqueness in things I've done has come from the collaborative nature of them. Bringing people together is pretty special, and then just capturing the time.
Yeah. What would you say is the most challenging or rewarding project you've worked on, and why?
Oh my God, dude. There's this friend of mine named Kelly Cole in town. She's really great. She does music, and her boyfriend Ty is really great. He produces for her. And I forget how Ty and I even connected, but Kelly had a project coming out last year, and she had me shoot some photos for the cover and stuff. We went to a trampoline park with a ball pit and all that. And I shoot the whole roll of film. And for one reason or another, the roll just came back blank, and it just was like nothing on it. And I was like, oh no, that sucks, because she'd already paid me. Her single is coming out like in a week, and you have to have that stuff submitted like ahead of time for the average distribution company to get it to the store in time. And I called her and I was like, hey, dude, this happens sometimes and it sucks every time. And to be honest, this is the first time it's happened to me where it's like a time crunch. But this roll of film just didn't turn out. We need to do the shoot again. And obviously, we'll do it for free. I'm not going to. We just redid the shoot, and I learned a lot from that about, I don't know, choosing your shots. We went back and got some of the same shots. We got back and got shots we wish we had gotten the first time. And it was a real learning experience. And I remember sitting in my car before I went in to reshoot the thing. And I was like, okay, you fucked up once and you learned from it. Now you got this. And then I did. It was great. And I'm really proud of the work that we put out together. The cover was really cool. It was like her standing in like this endless looking ball pit of all white ball pit balls. And on Cinestill film, it just looks great. But she was a joy to work with, man. And she was super understanding, obviously. But I'd have to say that the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that is an experience where I got to learn something, and I had to learn something. Just about preparedness, if nothing else, or about the way you pivot when something goes unexpectedly. Those
how
are
do you
just
recover?
skills you have to have just for life, not even for creative life. But
Definitely.
yeah, your recovery is just a very important thing. The way that you bounce back is a lot of the time all within your control, I find.
Yeah.
The thing that puts you down isn't at all in your control, but your bounce back is pretty yours to manage.
Definitely.
And I learned that, to tell you what.
You can choose to stand back up again.
You can. It's not easy all the time, tell you, but
No.
it's worth it just about every time.
So how do you navigate the business side of photography, like such as pricing, marketing, and client relationship?
I've done such specific work for people that it is like word of mouth, or if like you see my Instagram and you're like, oh, I'm putting out a project, I want a guy to shoot my cover, or I want show coverage, or I want to collaborate on something. People have come to me, or I've reached out like, hey, I'd love y'all's stuff. Can I offer assistance? There have been a couple shows this year because I've taken my foot off the gas with photo work, at least in the past couple months as I wrap up this album, to focus on music. But I've reached out to more people about I would love to collaborate or offer my aid in capturing this night or capturing this image for you. And those things often lead to a pretty good situation, but I keep it pretty close to cost, honestly. Like I pay for film and then I pay for the development of that film and then the scan of that film and then I edit that and that's my time. But I have all of these cameras and I have this computer to edit on and I'm not factoring those things into price, but I'm probably undercutting a lot of the photographers in town by a lot just because I do it for fun and for the connection of community more so than I do it for the chance to be celebrated. I don't want to go on the road with somebody. Like it'd be fun, but no one in their right mind is going to pay me enough money to make it worth it for me to not work my normal job where I have ability to work on my own stuff after work and go on the road and shoot film, which again, I'd love to do, but I just don't know if the right opportunity would present itself. And maybe I'll look back on this podcast in 5 years and be like, what a dumbass. I can't believe I said that before going on the road with the biggest people or something. Life is just like that. I don't know. But as it stands, like I find a lot more value and excitement in just working with people that are in my day-to-day life who I want to celebrate because they're incredible artists and they're just working dishwasher jobs or delivering rags to restaurants. Or there's this guy Travis Bly. He's so cool. He's been doing a lot of illustration work for some time, and he delivers alcohol to my restaurant. He's like our wine delivery guy, and he draws these incredible illustrations on the boxes of the wine that he'll drop off. And I'll cut the picture out of the box and save it. And our staff all has different ones they've collected of his, and I've commissioned him now to do some work for like my music stuff, to do illustrative stuff. But that's what I'm saying. They're everywhere. People that are creative and incredible and value adding are everywhere. And it could just be the delivery guy that you don't talk to all that much. Say hi. He's drawing crazy shit on the boxes. He must be a very good artist. And then it turns out he is. And he's really open to collaboration and really open to connection. And I've been doing this like pirate radio show through my offshoot account for the music called Tex FM. My first album was called Textbook Internet, and it's ambient bedroom pop music that I'm quite proud of, but Tex FM being like the continuation of that, where I'm doing little remixes and doing like a pirate radio show. It's been fun, 10-minute long little episodes, but I commissioned him to make the logo for the next like iteration of it. And I just wouldn't have had that happen had I not been like, hey dude, your drawings are crazy and you're leaving them here every week. What's your story? What are you up to? And I just find that those connections are more valuable than like getting on the road and just seeing the world. I think seeing the world around you is as important.
Definitely. People need to open their eyes
Bit
to
of a
the
ramble.
local scene.
Yeah, dude, they're everywhere.
It's not necessarily you have to go out there to experience the wonderful world when it's all around you.
There are definitely cool people in Wisconsin. There's cool people out in Washington and California and all that, but I'll meet them in due time. I just think it's important to, again, like you're saying, be a part of the community you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What restaurant do you work at?
I work at Hearts over on Gallatin. It's a cool little cafe vibe with Kiera of the Violet Moons.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice.
So that's how I think I had initially heard of you. She told me that she'd been on the pod, and I was like, that's cool. And I checked it out because like I said, seen the stickers all around town and that gas station over by Kroger. It's repping, you guys. It's repping. Yeah. It's repping.
That's awesome. I didn't know what coffee shop that was, but Hearts. Where is Hearts? You said
it's by like a church and a Title Max Loans place on Gallatin, but it's great breakfast stuff. It's like Australian influenced. Our boss is like from Melbourne. And
okay, I probably know your boss.
Kate?
Oh, I know of a Australian man who has a coffee shop.
He might be the Two Hands guy. There's another Aussie cafe in town.
Yeah, it's over by Woodbine.
That might be the one I'm thinking of. A lot of Aussies out here in
He used to show
Nashville.
me pictures of him swimming with great whites. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Because I used to be a barista at Red Bicycle on Nolensville.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
And then he would come in and get coffee, and I would always be like, "But you have your own coffee shop. Why are you okay?"
Valid.
Yeah. But then he would show me pictures of his shark swimming Oh my god,
No, that's
it's
insane.
terrifying.
That's crazy. Australians are very like they'll do anything, and they're like, yeah, it was just a normal Tuesday, and then they'll call you a legend, and you're like, what had just happened? I don't understand what that was, but it was great. They're very good people.
Yeah, Australians.
No, they're cool as hell, but I've heard some wild stories, and then they're just like casual about it. But anyway, the sharks, man.
They live with all the most dangerous creatures.
You couldn't pay me to go to a country with spiders that big.
And stonefish,
No.
you step on it and you're dead.
What do you mean?
Like they have stonefish that are like out in the water from the beaches. And if you're not careful and you accidentally step on it, you have 30 minutes to live.
30 minutes to live?
Yeah. And it's like
what are you doing with 30
and
minutes?
That's just
to
like
live?
normal.
That's like, crazy. I don't know what I would do.
Normal reality for them. I'm like, good God.
No, kid steps on a stonefish. That's crazy. That's a bad day.
Yeah.
Hope there's an ice cream truck nearby.
Cool. So what would you say your strengths and weaknesses as an artist are? I
think I'm a good conceptual artist. I'm just trying to tame the thing in me that's lazy and lets the ideas slip by. I've really just tried to get about me more of a up and at it attitude and a little bit more of a seriousness to the creative pursuit for me. Meaning that like I'll have an idea or I'll have an inspiration or a drive, and then in past years I've let those things pass, and then like we've said, oh, the idea happens but from someone else. So I think a strength of mine that I'm pretty proud of in the past couple of years has been developing that muscle to just get up and do the thing when you have the idea. It's just important because the idea is not going to just be yours at all. And if you want to show it or sell it, have commercial success, whatever that looks like, artist to artist, if you want to have that expression translatable to the world, then I would get at it and not just let it be an idea for too long. And a strength of mine is, I hope, developing that muscle to just get at it.
Nice. So how long have you been in Nashville now?
7 years, give or take. Came here for college, moved back home for a minute, moved here, got a job as a valet driver at a hotel downtown. Met some characters doing that. Sinbad's funny. Sinbad, the comedian.
Oh yeah.
He's a funny guy. It makes sense. He's got specials, but he tipped me like $60 cash to carry his guitar up to his room for him because he had just done a set at Zany's or something, and he wanted to. I don't know why he had the guitar. No clue, to be honest with you. But it was the heaviest guitar I have ever carried, and it was just a normal acoustic. Might have been some crazy stuff in the case now that I think about it, but the whole elevator ride up to his room and the chat and everything, he's a cool guy, but I don't know, you meet someone that's, man, I can't carry that. It's heavy as shit. I'm like, Sinbad, you're bigger than me. You're a very big man. You're tall. You can take this. But I'll take the $60. I'll make my back worse.
If they find the drugs in there, they'll bust him, not me.
You know what? Sinbad might have been just running a very smooth operation, and I was just young, gun, and shiny, and he knew he could pawn it off on me.
Be like, no, this is not my guitar. This kid, I don't know where he came from.
No clue.
Yeah.
I know he's in the uniform for the hotel, but I think he's suspicious.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust that guy in the gray polo and Walmart slacks. I wouldn't.
How long ago was that when you worked as a valet?
2020. I moved here tail end of 2020 for living here. Or that's not right. I get that time all fuzzy because I moved here to live here would have been 2018, 2019. And then COVID happened, and I moved in with my parents for a couple months because they were like, the world's going to end. And I was like, I believe you. And then it didn't. So I came back here 3 months later to just be a normal adult and live my life. I've been here ever since. So that time frame gets a little fuzzy for me when I think about it. But 7 years overall. Nice. It's a good spot to be. I like Nashville.
What would you say is something you've learned living here?
People, man. You learn a lot about people, and you learn that the people are what matter. Like, I've got a series I'm working on. I'm trying to make a photo book of like my favorite restaurants in town. There's just so many great restaurants in Nashville, and a lot of them get overlooked by the general populace and by like the tourism crowds. And there's so many great hole in the wall family run places that are like not going to be here forever. So I find a lot of value in celebrating those. And in that, it's the people. It's Tempo. Have you been to Tempo?
Oh, yeah.
Love Tempo. And it's family run, sweetest people ever. There's a couple people that are family members that work there, and then they have staff, but it feels like a whole family in there. They're great. And places like Mitchell isn't like a family run place, but Mitchell's a local deli. And when they go out of business, I'm moving. That's the best Reuben in town. It's crazy. There's places to celebrate while they're here. And I think the people in those are as important.
Definitely.
Have you been to the Perch down in Brentwood?
No.
Dude, best crepe you're going to have in town. Really good crepes, really good like espresso, great situation on coffee and all that. Their breakfast burritos crazy. But yeah, I've yet to finish this series, but I need to do a shoot down at the Perch. But it's been really fun to celebrate some of these places. Flower Your Dreams, it's a bakery out in Hermitage that opened in 2020. And it's a couple that owns and runs it, and they have staff, but they are super sweet and their product is incredible and they're very good people. And I just did a shoot with them last fall, just came into the cafe and took some pictures of the food that they would want to celebrate. And the purpose of this whole series has been just to give these businesses the photos to let them use them for whatever they want, because I want to benefit these people if I can, because they're benefiting the community. But eventually putting a book together is going to be pretty fun to see how all of that comes together packaged.
Nice.
Feels like there's some finality to sending something to a printer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you see the photography scene evolving here in Nashville?
I see a lot of people getting into like the digicam thing and getting into the low effort iPhone thing. And I don't not like that. I think it's cool, but I do think that the aesthetic like mind of Nashville's bands is shifting more into this low effort is cool space. But they're not doing anything low effort. They're just using older tech to make it look low effort. And I think that's where the value lies with something where you're trying to look grimy on purpose. If you're doing it well and you're making it look a little bit like crunchy, then hell yeah. But like bad stuff just looks bad.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking to anyone specifically, but I do see a shift in like the photo thing going more from like film or like super high detail digital to going to like iPhone photography or digicams that you like thrift, because there's always going to be a charm to like old tech. There's when I was at the McGee show in Atlanta, there was a guy filming the whole show on his Nintendo DS with that had like the camera recording, because those record video. I didn't know that the 3DS recorded video until pretty recently, because I had the first DS and I didn't have another one. But he recorded like the whole set on like a Nintendo. And that has to look terrible, but it has to also be so cool to have, like a 480p recording of an entire concert.
Yeah.
I think there's value and charm to it, but like I definitely do see the general mindset shifting toward more of that low effort is cooler as a presentation.
Yeah, I always find that whatever is 20 years ago is cool now.
Oh, it's cyclical as shit, man.
So
It's so weird how cyclical it is.
Yeah, everyone wants to look like the flip phone and stuff. But if
Mm.
you ask people that 10 years ago, they'd be like, no, dude, that's shitty quality. What are you thinking?
Yeah, are you crazy? What are you
And
talking
then
about?
like up until the last 4 or 5 years, people were like, want to use the VHS video camcorders. And if you were in 2017, no one would be looking at that. Like they would have thought like such old technology, like why?
Yeah.
But now everybody wants what the early 2000s bring it back, because 10 years ago was the 90s. Whatever was in the 90s was cool.
Right.
Now we're getting into the 2000s because it's 2025.
Yeah. I do find it cooler when you can do it for real instead of emulate it too. If people are going to do the VHS thing, get a VHS camera. They're not that expensive. They're harder to find if you aren't someone with the access to camera stuff. But I found my VHS cameras, I found both of them on Facebook Marketplace for $30 each. Wow. It's a crapshoot if they work, but when you find one that works, it's super rewarding. It feels like you just won the lottery.
Yeah.
I bought this one off a guy on Facebook, and he gave me all the tapes that were with it too. And I was like, hey, I can digitize these tapes and give you the footage. This is like your family's memories and stuff. And he was like, no, this is my wife's family's memories. I don't give a shit. And I was like, okay. But obviously I watched all the tapes anyways, because why would I not? Like,
Right,
that's crazy.
so
It's a
old school.
treasure trove of just found footage, like snow days and like karate competitions and
Wow.
just like slice of life that you're never going to see. And it's cool to see some random family's wakeboarding vacation just on a VHS camera. But you can really make some compelling work with the actual tools, and they're not all that hard to find, I don't think. But people doing like emulation of those things where it's high quality video with overlays to look like a VHS, still cool. But if you're gonna chase that like lower effort, lower quality, maybe not effort. I think lower effort might be the misattribution of what I'm trying to say, but lower quality for the sake of feigned authenticity is just cooler when you really do it.
Yeah.
It's cool when you can really do the thing instead of emulate the thing. But I don't know, we're getting into the emulation space with it.
Right.
Yeah. AI knows how to do a VHS filter now.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember back in like 2017, I had the Rad VHS app. And
Oh, yeah.
I would record my drum videos to make it look like VHS.
There you
And
go.
I thought it was cool. I think it's still cool, but
We all used Instagram filters. We've all used emulators. I'm not
yeah.
trying to shit on it.
Yeah, no.
I feel you.
Yeah. But so we talked about this already, but what do you believe the power is of photography?
Definitely that battle against time. I think, again, being able to capture a moment that otherwise is gone forever. Same thing with video, because video is just a bunch of images in sequence, but the image is like our way of winning against time. And I think photography is just like the most invasive way we can use that with getting into a room, slice of life, I don't know, shows, karate competitions with cameras. You just capture anything. And like the thing, I was talking to a buddy of mine, Tommy, that works at Boutique Film Lab. He's doing a series of people at Shelby Bottoms that are just like out and about. And I love his work. It's great stuff. But the last I caught him, we were talking about like the photons in light that are like never going to be the same again. You obviously can't take the same photo two times because maybe a leaf has fallen off of that tree or maybe someone's walked in frame or whatever. There's no way to physically take the same photo twice. And that is even truer with the fact that the light particles are always moving. So even if you got the same tripod shot two times in a row, there's going to be like microscopic differences between it. I don't know, just to me, it speaks to the preciousness of the fact that we can do that. Like it's once ever, and then it's like the moment's gone and it's just done.
Yeah.
It's cool to be able to hold the moment after it's gone because that's the only way we have a chance to beat time. It's not stopping.
Holding on to the ephemeral.
Yeah, that's why all of this is on your walls. Yeah, we caught Yoda in time.
Yeah.
We captured him
That's him as in his puppet version.
in time.
Yeah.
Did Henson do that? Am I crazy?
No, I'm
He
not
didn't do
sure.
that.
I think it was Frank Oz played Yoda. I don't know if he would have also done the puppet too. I don't know.
I didn't know this till pretty recently, but Henson did the first episode of SNL with some
really?
Muppets. Not the Muppets we know, but they were just puppets. So I've been like, what did Henson do lately? I'm like, he was all over the place. They had a segment on the first episode of SNL where he was doing like this alien planet bit with puppets that were like, I'm on this alien planet. I gotta eat all this food. And I'm not gonna go through the whole thing by any means, but it was on the first episode and none of the Muppets were recognizable to me. So I'm starting to question every puppet I see. Was that Henson or not? It's a coin toss at this point.
It's interesting you brought up Jen Henson because I'm reading a biography of George Lucas right now. And the guy who did this biography also did a biography of Jim Henson.
Man.
So
I would love to read his biography. He's got such a storied life. Crazy guy. Cool crazy. But like one of those crazy guys that's a creative that's just not going to quit. Andy Kaufman, another person on the first SNL episode. Did you ever see that first episode of SNL where he does a Mighty Mouse or he does like a singing performance mimicking like
Andy
miming.
Kaufman? I've seen him do Elvis and I've seen him...
Then you get what's going on. Yeah. He's just such a genius, man.
He's very eccentric.
Weird and funny.
Like he doesn't know when to turn it off. It's great.
I do love that about him. I feel like he's restraining all the time. Like he's trying to not be like overly crazy, but you see it like in his eyes.
Have you seen the Jim Carrey being Andy Kaufman documentary?
Dude, that shook my world.
He made Andy Kaufman's parents cry because they're like, wow, we actually feel like we're close to our son. Like you embody him so well.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
And so then he acted as if he was, and he acted as if they were really his parents. And he had like arguments with them that Andy had with him and they're like, "Oh my God, this is our son."
That must have slipped me. That's crazy. I remember at the Playboy Mansion when Jim Carrey was running around as the alter ego of him. But that whole documentary was such a whirlwind that you're just like, they did what?
Like they started to get mad at Jim because they're like, "We need you to not be Andy right now."
Oh, and he would drive into stuff with the car.
He didn't turn it off.
Yeah.
Like for like months.
That'd be a problem. That's a serious problem.
And you might lose your mind in the process, but
I could never method act. What are you talking about? I'm going to have to act like a different guy for 6 months and ruin all my relationships. That's not worth it. I don't think.
who knows?
I don't know.
It was,
Not me.
Wow, I was just like, Jim Carrey's mad genius to be able to step into the role so intensely and be able to embody it that even the dude's parents are convinced that you were like, this is our son.
I can't believe that. Wild.
Yeah.
That's like a new level of living in the character, man.
So he like had conversations with them as if things he would have said if he were still alive to the parents, and they're like start crying because they're like, oh my God, he feels.
That should be so confronting as a parent to see someone acting as your child in a really good way, doing really well.
So they like had a special place for Jim in their heart because they're like, you made us feel like we were with our son.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Wild. So what is some advice you would give to an aspiring photographer who is going to move here and do art?
Oh man, just shoot whatever you're interested in. Don't be weird, and I don't know, make friends. I mean, by don't be weird, I don't mean like any kind of judgmentalness towards weirdness. Weirdness is wildly celebrated within me. I love weird people and weird stuff. But by don't be weird, don't hold yourself to a standard you're not willing to achieve. Or don't hold other people to a standard that you're not willing to live up to either. Like in art, you got to just show up for yourself and show up for the people around you. And as long as you're doing that, I think good art's going to happen. But if you're like coming into it with any weird hangups or any expectations about I should be seen this way, or I should be like perceived this way, or I should have this kind of weight to my presence, I think those things are just earned with time. And I think you just got to do what you're interested in until you get tired of it. And really, I just think that people should just take pictures with their phone of what they're interested in, and then eventually if they feel so inspired, go get a different camera and keep doing it. But everyone's a photographer now. Like I think photography as a job or as like a skill is different than iPhone photography, but I don't think there's any room to discredit how some of the most like influential photos of all time have been on iPhones. Like it's going to be different from now on, so why would we waste time just being like, that's not real photography? Just go out and fucking go to the park, take a picture of something cool that you like, go breathe fresh air and have a good time. That's my advice, I think. Have a good time, because there's a lot of good times to be had in it, and it's again all about the people you keep around.
And no matter if you're a professional photographer or not, the fact that you take a picture, you're still capturing a moment in time.
Especially if you're excited.
Yeah,
like, oh my
and you're
God.
like, look at this. I took some pictures from this. And even if they're like bad, it's like you still understand like what they're trying to show you.
Yeah. And it's a waste of time to attribute good or bad to.
No, it's objective. Just you know what they're going for. You know what their intention was with capturing that.
Yeah, I agree. I think anyone can be a photographer as long as you feel the like urge to take the picture.
Yeah.
You just have that thing inside you. It's the same thing that I have when I pick up a different camera than you're holding. It's not all that different.
And you feel compelled.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The intent should just be to be outside and experience life. And you're going to make good art happen as long as you're doing it.
Yeah. So what is one of the biggest challenges you face as an artist, and how did you get through it?
I think just like those growing pains, like that shoot where the roll was blank. I've had so many shoots where you learn on the fly. And I don't know, the biggest lessons I've learned have all been in my own practice of how much I'm actually showing up for myself when it comes to a shoot day, or when it comes to a prep day, or when it comes to a meeting. I think showing up for myself has been a huge lesson in the art thing. And again, like a question I would ask someone else, or I guess advice I would have for someone else, is show up for yourself, man, because then everything else shows up with you, at least in the art and out of the art in your life.
Because it has to fulfill you first before it can touch someone else.
Yeah, I saw your Rick Rubin book in there. I read that last year. I really liked it. I think something I took from it that I really have kept is consider the audience last, if at all. Yeah, dude. Like, what do you thinking about the people that are going to experience it for. I think it's fair to think about the environment in which people are going to experience your art. Of course, you're going to be like, how does this sound in a car? How does this sound in a home through a Bluetooth speaker? How does this photo look on a TV? How does this video look on an iPhone? Like, you're going to consider the arenas, but I think the people are going to connect with it if they connect with it, and they're going to move on if they don't. And that's as deep as it's got to be when it comes to the audience.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As long as you like it and you know what you're trying to do, it doesn't really, like, art is subjective. So there are going to be people that hate it, there are going to be people that like it, but that can't be any of your concern because you're not like some supernatural being that has any control over that.
I didn't say that. I do have some powers. I have a few powers. I'm not going to tell you what they are for the mystery.
I can make them like it.
You can make anyone like art.
Yeah.
I'm just in museums pointing at people like Matilda, and they're like, that's interesting.
Using Jedi mind tricks.
Exactly. I'm keeping the frisk above water.
Right. No, you do like that. Yeah, actually,
You do like
yeah,
that.
I do like it.
You like that abstract blue painting.
These are
It's
not
great.
the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, what would your Jedi mind trick be? What would you do in real life if you could do that? As a kid, I would think about it all the time.
That's a great question. Jedi mind trick. I don't know. Would does force push and force pull have anything to do with it, or is it meant strategically like the mind, like telekinesis sort of thing?
What about your telekinesis Jedi mind trick? Which force push and pull is too much fun. Let's stick with the brain.
Yeah, that's true.
Not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be hard to think because I wouldn't really want someone to think differently than they already would because
fair enough.
If I controlled how someone thought, then I wouldn't be creative at all.
Fair. I'd get into concerts for free, I think.
Oh,
maybe
that kind of
thing. I don't know.
Or
maybe a checkpoint.
Or add 3 zeros to my bank account.
That's legit. I'm not gonna lie.
Add 4 or 5 zeros to my bank account.
Yeah, hell, why stop at 5? Go for 6 zeros, man. Come on, you got the wave down. You got it.
Yeah.
I think I would get people to not talk in a movie theater.
Dude, yes.
I think that's what I would use it for.
Unless it's a comedy and everyone's laughing.
Of course.
Because then you're like, when they laugh, I laugh because their laugh is hilarious.
Yes. But not every movie is Rocky Horror Picture Show. No. I don't give a shit what you're talking about behind me during The Brutalist or what. I didn't see that, but I'm just like, the movie in theaters now.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
If I usually watch most stuff by myself because I can control, but I because when I watch a movie with someone, I'm like, all right, guys, no one's going to talk and you're not going to say, oh, I love it when this part happens. Don't tell me any of that. And if we're watching a terrifying movie, I am trying to get scared. So don't make it a comedy. I'm trying to be freaked out. So it's like everyone I'm in it.
Don't make it a comedy is fair.
Yeah.
Because people will do that out of discomfort. And I do that at times if it's the right room. But I definitely think there's a time and a place for all that.
Yeah.
Rocky Horror is the place to go scream at the screen. Go do it.
Sure.
Please. It's a good time.
Even, I don't know. I remember watching almost all the Star Wars films in theaters. When people celebrate and clap, that's cool. Or when Yoda, I remember seeing Attack of the Clones and Yoda fights Darth Tyrannus and everyone in the crowd was like, yes!
Dude.
Because Yoda throws down his cane and then he starts jumping around.
And he's spinning through the air.
And no one's seen that from Yoda, so we're like, oh my God.
That was crazy. I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Yeah, big stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear your friends remind you that guy breaks his toe in Lord of the Rings when he kicks the helmet every time?
Who breaks their toe?
You don't know about this? That's crazy. Is it Aragorn? What's the guy's name?
Viggo Mortensen.
Yes. I don't know why I get all these incredibly complex names mixed up. It must be a problem with me. But no, one of the guys in the Fellowship kicks a helmet, an armor helmet, and in real life he breaks his toe in the take. And I've never watched that movie, The Fellowship, without somebody in the room being like, did you know he broke his toe just there? So when I met Elijah Wood, it was hard for me not to be like, did you know that your friend broke his toe during the film?
Really? You said that to him?
I thought about it, but I went with the Vin will you Vigs because it's the bit, it's the meme.
So it was Aragorn that broke their toe?
I think so.
Does he in the movie go,
screams after kicking this helmet?
He does?
Yeah, that's a real scream, apparently.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, there's little movie tidbits that I don't hate when people are like, did you know this during your watch? But I'm with you on the horror movie stuff. I definitely like to let it scare me and not try to make it something else if I can.
Yeah, I learned that quick. I was watching the movie Mandy, and the person I was with had seen it, and they were like, "Oh, I remember this part." Oh, I'm like, dude, please shut up.
Yeah, you don't want to
Like,
have a precursor to
yeah,
anything. That's
yeah.
hard.
Or, oh, you're gonna love this part. Don't tell me.
Don't talk.
Don't tell me what I'm gonna, because I don't. I wanted to. I want to come to that conclusion myself.
Real.
Okay, cool. So, what would you say is your biggest personal growth from last year to this year?
I think taking time to like purposefully work on projects. I've done a lot of fly by the seat of my pants through my day, and you go to work, you go to do this and that, and then you have 2 hours of your day free where you're not expected to do anything, and you're like, I can work on my passion for 2 hours. I find that the past year I've taken a lot more dedicated time to like carve time out for creative stuff. So you're not just like passively doing this work. It's really it's a service to yourself to, like I've talked about, showing up for yourself. This is another example of that, in my opinion, of making time for the practice of art. And I think Rick Rubin even talks about that in that book. And there's a Seth Godin book called The Practice that I read years ago, where he talks about how the he's like a consultant for people creative and not, but he was talking about how he recommends people post something every day, even if it's not to a public forum, even if it's like a private Finsta where you have no followers. Post something every day to get in the habit of posting. And I see a lot of my friends who are so adverse to the TikTok thing now as artists, and I get it. I don't like TikTok as an artist. It's hard to make content that feels authentic, but there's a lot of artists out here, Casper Sage and Taylor Noel and Cruiser and Hours 2, and there's so many people out here that are making like really cool polished TikTok content. But the thing is, they're making great art, and then they're making TikToks for that audience from the good art. And I think the whole social media battle with yourself in the practice of art isn't necessarily about keeping all of your pride, because it's obviously like you have to humble yourself to post something on TikTok a little bit. As someone that's, my art is important. To bite size it down and just send it off to a random group of people takes some humbling, I think. But with the people I've mentioned, all of their stuff is incredibly polished and it's incredibly authentic and it's really enticing. And I find that you can do both. I think you can post on the internet as an artist to promote yourself, and you can keep your authenticity, but you do have to, like, I think, humble yourself a little bit to be ready to put something up. And like Houston Kendrick, he's putting up a lot of really cool stuff too. And I told him, I saw him the other day. I told him, yeah, dude, your stuff's looking great. And I think people can tell that you're posting polished content as a means of like actual expression instead of just self promotion. Like we've talked about all day, people can read people pretty well, even if they're being sold something, especially if they're being sold something. So it's more about expressing something really and then capturing it than making a TikTok,
Right.
or posting every day just to post. It's getting yourself in the habit of being authentic and being a sharing person, I think, is the value to that Seth Godin comment about posting every day. Even if it's like a meme on Close Friends, put something up.
Yeah.
Put something up there.
It gets you out of your shell of like,
you're in the habit.
Yeah, you putting yourself out there, because in the world we live in, it's like, I don't know if I want to put myself out there that much, but it's like the more out there you can put of yourself, the more relatable it comes to other people.
Yeah.
And it is a vulnerability thing you have to get over.
Yeah.
I think we're all working on that. It can be hard to be like, this is my heart, this is what all my insecurities, this is what I think, feel.
Yeah.
And put that out there. But usually that content is the one that's best received, or at least most well received.
And God forbid your song is a big TikTok sound now. Oh no, what a problem. People are making Tony Soprano edits to your song. I'm sorry. Your streams are going up. Celebrate. I think that, yes, it's the prideful thing of humbling yourself is also speaking to the fact that it is short form content on a platform where people are trying to be silly and just make montages of their life or make edits of their favorite things. You're still providing like the soundtrack to that. That's still a pretty important thing if people take to your music on a platform like TikTok. And I've heard a lot of local artists speak to it only negatively, because managers are apparently annoying as fuck about, did you post your TikToks this week? Did you post your TikToks this week? I love your socials. Your socials are looking great lately. There's an in joke, I guess, I've seen a lot of out of artists that are talking about like how their managers are like, love your socials lately. like how it's a text that they hate getting because they know that they've posted some dumb bullshit all week to get that response out of a manager. But I think there's a balance to it. Like I'm saying, I think you can post stuff and not be selling your soul or selling yourself out or whatever. You can do both. It just takes intent. Yeah.
Nice. So how can people support you as an artist?
I don't know. Pay attention to what I'm talking about, I guess. I'm just going to continue expressing myself through different mediums and collecting community and curating friendship through that. And the art that comes from it is authentic and it's important to me. So if people feel inclined to keep up with it, then that's all the support I could ask for.
Nice. And you said you have an album that's going to come out. What kind of music is it going to be?
So the first album was like ambient bedroom pop stuff, and I do find myself leaning more into an actual singer-songwriter space with this record. There are a couple ambient tracks that I really love that are instrumental focused, but I've really stretched myself to sing more and to be actually playing my instruments more instead of being in the box. And I've made this music around some of my best friends, so I'm really proud of it, but I think I would just call it straight up like alternative now.
Cool.
The genre thing is weird too because people are always like saying, I don't know what genre my music is. And then from the outside, it's pretty clear, I think, what genre. So I think people will tell me when they listen what genre my music is. But it's wide spanning. There's a couple electronic tracks. There's a track that I have a little bit of a twang to it. I was born in Kentucky, so I have a lot of family that have a Kentucky accent, and I grew up playing guitar to like Johnny Cash songs. So there is an authenticity to me having a little twang if I'm singing, but it's not like a big part of any of my music by any means. All I'm saying that is to say it's a pretty dynamic album, and I'm pretty proud of that. But Love Stuff and Cheap Smokes is the title, and
Love
it
Stuff.
should be out by tax day. I'm gonna claim that by April 15th it'll be out by tax day. But I've not even really started posting about it or anything. I don't really know what the posting of it is going to be like. I just want to put it out and keep working on the next record.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. But again, I started it last February, so it feels like it's just time to quit poking at it and let it be out.
Nice.
You know?
Cool. So how do you like to consume media? Do you like to read? Do you watch movies? Do you have favorite YouTube videos?
All of it, man. I'm way too into media. I love media. I love collecting like physical media, records, VHS, DVDs, because I don't, who has $10 a month just laying around for another streaming service? When you're like, I want to watch The Waterboy. I want to watch Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights. I don't know. Just the first two movies from my childhood to come to mind. You get on there and it's on a new streaming service. It's, oh, I got to pay $10 a month for Vubu TV or whatever. And I'm tired of that. So I'm just collecting all my favorite DVDs and CDs and vinyl because I don't know what the next thing's going to be, but I don't think streaming is around forever. It's not really doing it for everybody involved. So I love to consume media through streaming for the convenience of it, but I think my favorite days are like sitting down with a record or sitting down with a book and holding those things and like flipping through the liner notes of a record and looking at the artwork. And one of my favorite records I ever found at McKay's was a copy of McCartney 2, and it was like scratched up on the outside but perfect on the inside, and it came with a single of Coming Up recorded live in maybe Oslo or at Glasgow. It was at Glasgow, but like just perfectly untouched single from that day in the sleeve. And there's just so much more life to be found with like holding the stuff, like we've been saying, I think. So even on the consumption side, I'm not in a position to like press this record to 1,000 copies or whatever, or any amount of copies at this point in my artistry, but I definitely want to become an artist that is making physical sound media and making photo books that are holdable. I think there's just value to that. And I've done a couple print runs where I've done at this McGee show in Atlanta last year. I got some really good film pictures of the set, and I felt compelled to sell those and donate the money to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, which is a cause near to my heart. They help kids get out of that situation, and it's a country with the highest rate of child amputees in the world now, as of 2 years ago. And not to speak to the conflict, which is ancient but present, I just think that it's important to look to the people that are the actual victims of situations and help them have some kind of dignity and solace. And so the PCRF, I donated the money from that print run to them, and I found that to be really important, and I find that cause to be near to my heart. So if I were to do another physical thing anytime soon, it would probably be, at least in part, to donate to something like that. Because it just feels weird to benefit off of art at a time like this. Not that it's immoral, it's just, man, I could do something with a little bit of this money. But
Yeah, I definitely understand, but I don't make money from any of my art, but I still do it because I enjoy it.
that's the point.
I used to have people be like, "Are you getting paid for that?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Why are you doing it?" And it's like, only orientation in life is not monetary gain.
I don't have a dream job. I don't dream of labor. Same thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I have other ways of making money, but then that fuels all my art. So then I don't have to ask for money from anyone.
Yeah. That's the real artist mentality.
And I don't have, if they don't pay me, they can't tell me what to do. So I have complete creative freedom
There you
because
are.
I pay myself instead of someone else. So
I think that's important.
yeah,
Truly.
because I didn't, I'm like you said, getting paid for your work, it can feel weird and you feel like you're selling yourself out.
Or that imposter syndrome, like you talked
Imposter
about.
syndrome, like how do you quantify it? How do you put a price to it? Like eventually I'd like to sell t-shirts or something like that, but
Easy peasy. I
Yeah.
think you really could. You've got a big repertoire of who's been on the show, and you've got a lot of connectivity in town. I'd be surprised not to see that.
yeah, maybe that's why or way I will get paid for it, but I'm not really looking to that too much. Same reason why I don't have any sponsored ads or anything on my, because when I listen to podcasts, I hate listening to ads.
Same. But we are sponsored by MeUndies. I was kidding. That's not. Don't wear their underwear. It will kill you. Does that save us? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that bring us out of the sponsorship pit? The underwear will kill you. Don't wear it.
Be wary of polyester.
Be wary of polyester. It's a very general statement. That might get our point across.
Sure.
Beware.
So, do you have any favorite? What do you like to watch on YouTube?
There's a guy that does. I just got a teenage engineering sampler. It's not like the OP1 by any means, but it's a product of theirs that I have no understanding of. And with hardware stuff, I'm really out of my element until I watch someone mess with the hardware for a long time and I follow along. So that's mostly what I've been into lately, is just I watch a lot of people that are like explaining how to use hardware, or it's just dumb like bullshit videos that make me laugh, to be honest. Like I had a roommate that would put on car crash compilations all the time, and that kind of ruined my brain for YouTube. Now I'm just like random dumb bullshit, and it's just whatever, and it's fun, but it's either incredibly helpful stuff or completely not necessary to my life whatsoever. Yeah. Like Damn Ass Rock. Have you seen the Damn Ass Rock video?
No.
I think you might enjoy it.
It's
a classic YouTube video where these two kids are skateboarding in a driveway, and one of them hits a rock with his skateboard and falls off, and he's like crying very dramatically. And the other kid who has the camera, there's this damn ass rock. You know, kids just don't know how to cuss. They just say the words that they know are bad, but not contextually.
Right.
There's this damn ass, stupid ass rock, and they get very profane, but they're children. So the video itself, pretty silly. Has it been watched a trillion times in my house? Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Weirdly, car crash compilations are pretty
satisfying.
Not satisfying, but it's like you can't peel yourself away from it once it starts, because you're like guessing what's going to happen a little bit.
Wow.
I got my car totaled over by Shelby in December, and I've not watched any since then because I lived it and I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm cool. I'm not a big fan of car crash compilations, but I will say that roommate would put them on so casually that we'd be having like people over for dinner or something. You just look over and you're like, someone's dead. And you're like, whoa, I feel like different now. I don't know if I want to see that.
Yeah, that is true. We can live vicariously through such violence.
So desensitized
It's
now.
so desensitizing.
Oh yeah, dude, it's nuts. The stuff you just swipe past on your phone. I worked with this lady at a different job at a restaurant, and she showed me like a video on her Facebook one day. Just look, and it's just like a guy's hand getting chopped off, and you're like, hey, dude, it's 9 a.m. And I don't want to see that at all, actually. Even if it's 11 a.m., I don't want to see it. But yeah, people are very desensitized to just like the most insane shit ever, and it's all on the internet. I had a buddy who did moderating for TikTok for a time. He is a guitarist in town, but they sent him a laptop, and his job was just to log on as a moderator for 9 hours a day and just pull down the most vile shit you've ever seen on the internet. Like the people that do that job, I do not envy. It's just got to be like mentally just destroying to a person's psyche to because the most depraved stuff people are posting online has to get taken down by somebody. And it's just a guy like at Ugly Mugs just trying not to cry, which is really morbid, but funny a little bit.
Dang.
No, it's not funny.
It's crazy that there
bad.
are people that's their job.
It's not a funny job.
No, just like the people that like I have a friend who's a doctor and he like is an orthopedic doctor and he cuts bones and stuff.
I can't imagine.
Like he says all the doctors have such a dark sense of humor because they see death every day. And so they have to like laugh to keep from crying.
Man alive.
And it's just what a way to live, man.
No,
I could not do that. I could not do that.
No, and they're getting paid. Doctors are getting paid, but I would wager not enough to put up with all the death and all the other stuff.
They have to compartmentalize it.
Grey's Anatomy looks crazy, and that's just a dramatized version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not good. I couldn't be a doctor.
No.
Not only because I'm not educated, but because I'm not capable.
I wouldn't have the stomach. Yeah.
No. I'm more cut out for art, which is
the creative,
exciting.
Just
do stuff and be nice to people, I think, is what I'm cut out for.
Yeah.
I hope.
So is there anything you would like to add that I might not have asked you about?
We've hit a lot of bases, man. I've had a really good time chatting with you and connecting over art, and Nashville as a community. It's a great place to be, and it's better for people like you bringing people together, man. So I'm grateful to be a part of it. But I would like to say free Palestine. I believe in a free Palestine, and I hope that we see it. I hope that we stop funding the current genocide through our
efforts.
Yeah, we're involved in a way that's like absolutely not cool, and only
a third party kind of thing. Where
I don't want to get into it out of my depth, but it doesn't feel very much like what they're telling us it is. And every country but the United States and Israel in the International Court of Justice has voiced like a need for this to end, and it hasn't. For those two countries to be the only opposers to an end of the conflict says to me that they like the conflict happening. And I would like to see an end to suffering. So
definitely. Not
to end us on a sour note, but to be honest, if I'm going to be talking on the internet, got to say some shit that's real.
Sure.
So I appreciate the space to say it, man.
You're welcome. I have one question left for you.
I have one answer for you.
What is something absurd you love or do?
Something absurd I love or do? Probably comedy, man. Comedy is really absurd. I think, honestly, the YouTube question, if I were to be open about it, it's a lot of Norm Macdonald. I love that guy. Norm Macdonald, and I love watching his old Weekend Update. He got fired from Update for making too many O.J. Simpson jokes at the time of the trial. And the best one he did was when O.J. was acquitted. He's just reading the news and he goes, "Murder legal in California this week." Yeah, anyway.
I love that.
Yeah, because he's just the candor he had about it and the assuredness and like the smug grin. You can't fake it. He's just the best.
Have you ever listened or watched any Bill Hicks?
I have. Bill Hicks is great.
I love Bill Hicks. He's also the same. We always arm these small countries, let them fight each other, and then we come bomb the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And he's so realistic with what he shares so much truth in his comedy.
Bill Burr's having a big moment with that too. Bill Burr had a special come out this week, and he was talking about the Palestinian situation, and he said something about like how they're using human shields. What do you expect us to do? And if my neighbor is holding a kid hostage, I'm not going to go punch my neighbor through the kid. I'm going to work around it. You got to work around it. Anyway, so there is some truth in that, and there is some funniness to be had in the comedy of it. But I think like the power of comedy as an art is that there's truth in it too.
Definitely.
And I don't know. I'm a big Norm Macdonald head. You might see me dressed as Turd Ferguson this year for Halloween.
I'll have to. I haven't listened to him or seen him. I've heard of him, but I don't know any of his work.
Do yourself the favor of watching some of those Celebrity Jeopardy episodes on SNL where Will Ferrell's playing Alex Trebek and Norm Macdonald will show up playing Burt Reynolds in a character called Turd Ferguson, and it's very funny.
Is it Norm? Like N-O-R-M?
N-O-R-M Macdonald.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. He's famous for having these like long jokes where the punchline is not obvious and it takes a while to get there. The co-host of Conan one time was like, "All of your jokes are like a 4-mile hike to go look at a pile of dog shit." And I agree because they're damn funny, but then you're like,
it takes a while to get it. Yeah.
If you have the time, I can tell you my favorite Norm joke.
Dude, tell me.
Okay. So there's this lady named Patty W. She wears a name tag, at her bank job. She's a bank teller. And every day she loves going to this bank to work. It's her favorite. She, as a girl, dreamed of being a bank teller. So she's so prim and proper at her desk and has all her little stuff set out every day. And she's on time every day with a black coffee and ready to serve the public as a bank teller. The normal Tuesday rush comes about, and she's giving people loans, and she's taking deposits and withdrawals and yada. And about noon, in comes this frog. The frog hops in through the front door of the bank, and she looks over her desk and sees this frog, and by God, he hops up on the desk, and she says, "Hello, how can I help you?" And the frog says, "I'd like to apply for a loan. I'd like to apply for a loan. I've outgrown my lily pad. I'm looking for more space. I'm trying to expand my horizons, and I think it's about time." And she's, first of all, aghast that there's a talking frog in front of her. And now it's asking for a damn loan. What are you going to do? Give this? She asks if it has any collateral, because it's a frog. It doesn't have any credit history. It doesn't have any pay stubs or anything. And out of back pocket or something, it pulls out this little pink unicorn and sits it on the desk, like a little ceramic, tiny pink unicorn. Patty's looking at it, and she's like, "Okay, I'll take this to my boss back in the back, and we'll see if he accepts this as collateral." And she adjusts her Patty W name tag, and she just gets all up and takes it to the back and says, "I'll be right back, sir." And goes into the office, and her boss says, "What is it, Patty?" And she goes, "Sir, there's a frog here that's asking for a loan, and I don't know what this is, but this is his collateral," and shows him the pink unicorn. And he takes a moment and a deep breath, and he says, "Don't you know what this is?" She says, "I don't know what this is." And he says, "That's a knick-knack, paddywhack. Give that frog a loan." 4-mile hike to look at some dog shit. But nice. It's a good bit. I like it. It's a long one. You can make it as long as you want. Is the nice thing about a Norm joke, is meandering as much as you're willing to meander.
You don't know where it's going, and then when you get in, you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, you wasted my money in 5 minutes. But they're fun to tell because you get people there and then drop it.
That's like the Chris Farley one I love, where Chris is like, "So I was standing in the restaurant, and I was standing in the grocery store. I was buying my groceries. I was standing in the line. There's this guy in front of me, and I says to the guy, get this, he's standing right there. I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and I says to the guy, and he's asked me like all these questions, and then I says to the guy, I actually just completely forgot what I was talking about."
Farley was the best,
dude.
Man.
Yeah, he was one of my childhood heroes.
He's the best. I feel like he would have, if he hadn't died, I don't know if Kevin James would have a career.
No.
I love
or
Kevin
Jack
James
Black.
or Jack Black, but I think all of their roles would have been Farley roles had his heart not exploded.
Yeah, he was the most athletic fat guy I've ever seen.
Just all the
dude, and he would do cartwheels.
Yeah, dude.
And he was like, he could run really fast. Like, I've just never seen someone with so much energy, with such mass.
I think the motivational speaker was the first thing I ever saw.
Yeah.
The van down by the river and through the coffee table. Yeah.
And legend. Your dad says you've been using paper not for writing, but for you're going to be doing a lot of when you're living in a van down by the river.
Yeah, man. Dude. Yeah, he knew. He was way ahead of his time.
Tommy Boy and Black Sheep, man.
The same movie, also.
It is. They play the same. Yeah.
But hey, I'm not mad about seeing David Spade in 2 movies. No, that's mine.
That's another thing is Chris Farley made David Spade's career, basically. He gave him a career.
Yeah. And he's a very funny guy, too, in his own right. But I do wish that we got to see their like friendship as older adults into the grown-ups era.
Yeah.
Would have been fun.
Awesome. Thank you again, Nate, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Jordan. I've had a great day. Had a great time. Glad I didn't have another coffee because I'm just as energized as I need to be right now.
Nice. Perfect. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow the podcast on all streaming platforms. And if you really like this episode, be sure to share it with a family member, friend, or someone you know who could benefit from the lessons learned in this episode. I look forward to sharing more of these wonderful artists with you. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. Until next time, bye bye.